SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Spring cleaning isn't just for clutter. Let Benjamin Franklin Plumbing take care of your appliances. From water heater replacement or repair to advanced water filtration installation, Benjamin Franklin Plumbing is here to provide a worry-free summer for you and your family. Visit BenjaminFranklinPlumbing.com to schedule. You can count on the punctual plumbers, where your comfort and safety come first. Book now. Visit BenjaminFranklinPlumbing.com.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
A good retirement requires more than just having a retirement nest egg and a good investment strategy. Sadly, most people don't have that kind of a plan. And that's why retirement turns into a nightmare for most retirees. Nightmares of one falling ill and ending up in a nursing home, becoming a burden on loved ones, and losing money to uncovered care costs. All preventable with the right retirement plan. Hi, this is elder law attorney Rajiv Nagaich and founder of LifePoint Law. Let me invite you to resolve to make 2025 the year you create a real plan for retirement. I've helped thousands of people in the Seattle area, and I know I can help you too. Come to one of my retirement planning seminars this month, and I will show you how.
Attend the free seminar in Federal Way on April 5th, Olympia on April 8th, or Bellevue on April 10th. Register at lifepointlaw.com. That's lifepointlaw.com. Or call 253-838-3454.
That's all.
Homeward bound, I wish I was homeward bound.
A heartwarming rescue story straight out of a movie in Vermont where an inseparable trio, 2 dogs and a cat, have found their way from the streets to a loving home together. The Central Vermont Humane Society shared the touching tale of River, Rain, and Reed, 3 animals found wandering the streets late one night, never straying far from one another. On social media, the shelter wrote, "Are you one of the many people who love the movie Homeward Bound? Meet our happy little trio." SunnySkies.com says once rescued, the shelter quickly realized they'd not been receiving proper care for quite some time. Reed, the cat, remained distant, shocker, until the shelter reunited him with the dogs. Not long after the shelter shared the trio's story on social media, a couple reached out to the Central Vermont Humane Society, eager to adopt all 3 animals. That'll do it for this hour. For Nicole Murray and Mike Gavin, I'm Gordon Deal. Thanks for listening to This Morning, America's First News.
Hey, Brock Ewart here with my buddy Dave Taylor from First Mark Insurance. So glad, so thankful that Molly and I made the call. Had heard so many First Mark Challenge victories, we needed to take that challenge. What does happen from your perspective when that caller, when that email, when that person reaches out to you for a First Mark Challenge victory?
That's a great question. So there's several steps we go through in the process. The first step is we're going to gather information, find out all we can about that client and what their needs are. The next step is we will go out to the market. We have dozens and dozens of carriers that will compete for the business. At the end of that process, we will then bring those findings back to the customer, show them what we found, and who the eventual winner was in that competition.
And it may be who they're with.
It might be, yes. And sometimes that's the best we can do is recommend they stay where they are, but maybe modify a few coverages to put them in a better position.
So go take that challenge today. Go be the next First Mark Challenge victory. It costs you nothing, and they will be there with you every step of the way. FirstMarkInsurance.com. First Mark Insurance.
Your best source for local news. KIRO Newsradio. KIRO FM and HD1. Tacoma, Seattle. Northwest News.
The Trump tariffs.
They do it to us, and we do it to them.
Violent weather.
We had seconds to start getting ready before we started hearing the wind picking up.
Deportation anguish.
They're living in
nuestros hijos, por favor.
Good morning. I'm Steve Kathan. With the CBS World News Roundup, a big sell-off is expected when financial markets open in 90 minutes. Dow futures are down around 1,200 points. It's the reaction to President Trump's sweeping tariffs, and countries that have been targeted vow action of their own. Here's CBS's Ed O'Keefe.
Virtually every country is facing some kind of tariff, with the biggest ones on nations that have high tariffs on the U.S. Reciprocal tariffs will be half of what the White House says countries are charging the U.S. and will begin next Wednesday. It means Americans are set to pay higher prices for goods like electronics, toys, and shoes made in China, computer equipment from Taiwan and Vietnam, construction equipment imported from Japan, and clothing and jewels from India. Notably exempt from the new tariffs are Canada and Mexico, which are instead facing the ones Trump put in place earlier this year.
If you want your tariff rate to be zero, then you build your product right here in America.
But Democrats are warning of economic pain.
This is not Liberation Day, it's Recession Day.
In the Senate, 4 Republicans joined all Democrats in supporting a mostly symbolic measure designed to undo tariffs on Canada. Kentucky Republican Senator Rand Paul is no fan of tariffs.
I don't think it's going to be good for us politically, but it's not good for the country either.
A 25% tariff on imported cars kicked in overnight. It could mean a sharp boost in auto prices. On CBS Mornings, correspondent Kelly O'Grady on the impact of all of this on investors.
When the president was speaking, we saw the market start to go down significantly. And specifically, you're seeing the tech stocks take a hit because so many of them rely on China and Taiwan to import products. The problem is that is what drives a lot of the S&P 500. A lot of our 401ks are invested in funds that track the S&P 500. When that goes down, so does your 401k.
The Agriculture Department says the cost of eggs fell 9% last week. The average price is now $3 a dozen. At least 3 deaths are reported after a massive storm system packing tornadoes slammed several states on the nation's midsection. CBS's Omar Villafranca in Arkansas says the severe weather stretched more than 800 miles from Oklahoma to Indiana.
At least 2 tornadoes were reported to have hit here in what has been a night of non-stop severe weather. As this massive twister tore through parts of northeastern Arkansas, it prompted the National Weather Service to issue a tornado emergency just after 6:30 p.m. for Lake City. The violent storm turned homes and businesses into rubble, its residents overnight combing through the destruction left behind. The Craighead County Sheriff's Department says at least 15 people were injured. Several homes were flattened and cars tossed and flipped over, eventually landing on piles of debris.
Amazon has stepped in to bid for TikTok, which needs a U.S. buyer or face a ban in this country in a matter of days. CBS's Jolene Kent.
CBS News has confirmed that Amazon sent a new bid to the White House to buy the app from its Chinese parent company, ByteDance. One expert we spoke to said Amazon actually could be a natural fit. It's already collecting user information from shopping habits through Prime and home surveillance through Ring. And the company has a better shot, the expert tells us, at replicating TikTok's user experience. Now, other contenders include companies like Blackstone and Oracle.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio is at NATO headquarters in Brussels with some reassurance for allies who have questioned the U.S. commitment.
Some of this hysteria and hyperbole that I see in the global media and some domestic media in the United States about NATO is unwarranted. President Trump's made clear he supports NATO. We're going to remain in NATO.
4 minutes after the hour.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The White House has shot down reports that indicate Elon Musk will step away from his government role soon. CBS's Olivia Rinaldi.
Doge, which Trump created through an executive order, is seen to be in place for about 18 months, at least on paper, that Trump said that they will exist for about 18 months, rooting out government waste, fraud, and abuse. So that's something that we could still see continue, even if Musk himself is not in government.
CBS's Michael Wallace has more on the overhaul at the CDC.
The health agency has already lost 2,400 jobs, 1/5 of its workforce, including scientists who are working on environmental health, violence prevention, and lead poisoning. Now, the New York Times reports Doge has asked the CDC to cut 35% of its spending on contracts, nearly $3 billion. Contracts for computers, security guards, and cleaning services could be on the chopping block.
Because of new reductions, there are questions about government food inspections.
Senior FDA leaders are planning for cutbacks in the number of routine food and drug inspections conducted by the agency. Sources say it's due to steep layoffs this week in support staff. About 170 workers were cut from the FDA's Office of Inspections and Investigations. An official tells CBS News that office will now need to work with the FDA's Drug, Device, and Food Centers to reprioritize their workload for the rest of the year, which will lead to the trimming of routine surveillance inspections. Matt Piper, CBS News.
There's a chocolate bar recall. Tony's Chocolonely says some small stones were found in dark almond sea salt and everything bars. They were distributed to retailers and sold online. Now to Venezuela. A group protested outside the Salvadoran embassy over Venezuelans detained in El Salvador. The U.S. has deported more than 200 Venezuelan immigrants to El Salvador, alleging they're members of a criminal gang. There's a court hearing today for the Tufts University doctoral student from Turkey who was seized by ICE agents. CBS's Jake Rosen.
The woman's attorneys argue that her detention violates her constitutional rights to free speech and due process, and have asked for her immediate return to Massachusetts for her and to be freed from government custody.
When Tony Bennett died in 2023, he left behind a rich music catalog.
I left my heart.
But now the singer's two daughters have filed a new lawsuit against their brother Danny, who was his manager. They claim he took advantage of Bennett's Alzheimer's to make deals to enrich himself. Danny Bennett has previously called the claims baseless. Time on the roundup, 8 past the hour.
Attention, if you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let the tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, they'll fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-783-8055. That's 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
There's news in the video game world from one of the big players in the industry.
The Switch 2 is set to launch on June 5th with a price tag of almost $500. Nintendo has shown off the new system in an online video.
It has a built-in microphone, so you can voice chat with friends anytime via game chat.
The Japanese video game giant has revealed a more vibrant display on the Switch 2, a larger screen, and several games that will launch with the console. Investors, though, not impressed. Nintendo shares tanked nearly 6% after the announcement. Jennifer Kuiper, CBS News.
The U.S. government has reportedly banned American government personnel in China, as well as family members and contractors, from romantic or sexual relationships. Some agencies already had strict rules, but a blanket non-fraternization policy, as it's called, has been unheard of publicly since the Cold War. That's the CBS World News Roundup. I'm Steve Kathan. CBS News.
KIRO Newsradio, 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning. I'm Katrina Gashard. Investigators say a juvenile is dead and 2 others are in critical condition in Skyway. KIRO 7 TV Samantha Lomibao reports from the scene.
Skyway Fire responded to 3 unresponsive children just before 1 p.m. Sadly, one of them did not survive, and the 2 others were taken to the hospital in critical condition.
I just hope that everybody is okay and everything gets figured out and it just doesn't happen again.
Jasper Ackerman says he saw the scene while touring the complex, but he was heartbroken to find out why deputies were there.
I hope, they hear better news. It is unfortunate that one of them didn't make it.
The King County Sheriff's Office were only able to tell us that their major crimes unit is investigating.
Dozens of people were arrested in an apparent immigration raid here in Washington on Wednesday morning. KIRO News Radio's Frank Lenzi has details.
37 people were taken into custody at a Bellingham roofing company. Immigration and Customs Enforcement tells the Seattle Times the people arrested allegedly had misrepresented their immigration status and submitted fraudulent documents while seeking employment. According to an ICE statement, the raid was part of investigations into, quote, worksite violations and/or the exploitation of workers. Frank Lenzi, KIRO News Radio.
Will Amazon save TikTok? According to the New York Times, Amazon has put a last-minute bid to acquire all of TikTok, which faces a deadline this month to be separated from its Chinese owner or face a ban in the U.S. Policymakers in both parties passed a law late last year to force a sale of TikTok that was set to take effect in January. Then President Trump delayed the enforcement of the law until Saturday, even if it was unanimously upheld by the Supreme Court. He was scheduled to meet with the top White House officials yesterday to discuss TikTok's fate. No comment yet from Amazon or TikTok. Wildlife agents say he beat the odds. An orphaned cougar cub found near death in eastern Washington is now recovering at his new home west of the mountains. KIRO News Radio's Heather Bosch reports.
A 5-month-old cougar laps up water and gobbles up pieces of chicken and elk fed to him by a Northwest Trek Wildlife Park worker.
You did it. Good job.
It's a big improvement from the critically dehydrated, emaciated, and tick-riddled cub wildlife agents rescued. When fully recovered, he'll join the other cats who live at the Wildlife Preserve in Eatonville. Heather Bosch, KIRO News Radio.
Lakewood Assistant Police Chief John Unfred has been placed on leave pending an investigation. It's not clear exactly what prompted the investigation or who will conduct it. KIRO 7 TV reports once it's done, Unfred is expected to return to the job. He was placed on leave back on March 19th. He's been assistant chief with Lakewood PD for nearly 10 years and has been with the department for 20. The teen accused of killing a man during a drug deal gone bad was arraigned Wednesday morning at the Regional Justice Center in Kent. KIRO News Radio's James Lynch has details.
18-year-old Zaire Orr is charged with murder in the first degree for fatally shooting 19-year-old McKinley Williams during a small marijuana sale February 4th. Prosecutors allege Orr and 2 other teens planned to rob Williams. When Williams tried to drive away, he was shot once in the head. Here's Casey McNerney with the King County Prosecutor's Office.
We asked the court to hold him on $3 million, and the court upheld that bail amount.
Orr is due back in court later this month. James Lynch, KIRO News Radio.
For your KIRO News Radio real-time traffic, light on the roads right now. Tacoma to Seattle, about 23. Puyallup to Renton, 17. Renton to Bellevue, about 23 minutes. Linwood to Seattle, about 15 minutes. And for your KIRO News Radio forecast, some sprinkles this morning. We've got some low clouds and fog. Highs will be close to 60. Right now, it's about 45 in downtown Seattle. Coming up, former State Attorney General Rob McKenna joins us to discuss due process with a specific focus on the deportations carried out by the Trump administration. I'm Katrina Gashard. You're listening to KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with the KIRO News Radio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO News Radio, Northwest News. KIRO Newsradio doesn't just report the news. We help you make sense of it.
People in this area, they have us. We can keep this guy honest. That's our job.
New media is leaving the old guard behind. Yes.
We provide the analysis and context you need to stay ahead in these fast-paced times.
That man is still on the loose, and Everett police are searching for him.
Seattle Public Schools look to boost graduation rates by 10% over the next 5 years.
Stay tuned with KIRO Newsradio, where you'll find out why.
Spike O'Neil for Sharp Vision Modern LASIK and Lens. And let me tell you, everything is my eyes. Everything. The vision is everything in your life. But when your eyes start to go, it affects everything you do. And I had lost quality of vision over the years, began to need readers, began to lose readers faster than I could buy them. I knew it was time to get my eyes looked at. So I went to the offices over in Bellevue, Sharp Vision Modern LASIK and Lens. They gave me a comprehensive eye exam, told me exactly what my situation was, the beginning of cataract in my eye, and I was a perfect candidate for RLE, refractive lens exchange. They answered all my questions. I had the same care team from the start of my simple procedure in half an afternoon, and I was cared for. My anxieties were eased. The procedure went smooth as glass. And I got to tell you, I've got better eyes than I've ever had in my life. I've got 20/10 vision. I see brighter colors. I see sharper images. And I will never need readers, and I will never develop cataract. They are the future of RLE surgeries. Over 80,000 successful lens replacement surgeries. Give them a call at 425-451-2020. That's 425-451-2020, or online at sharp-vision.com, sharp with an e-vision.com, official eye care providers of Sounders FC.
Paid political announcement.
We live here in Washington. I travel all over the state for work.
Affordable short-term rentals help us stay together and make Hazel feel at home.
Now Olympia is considering a huge tax increase on short-term rentals,
pricing us and other families out, since more than half of short-term rentals here are used by Washingtonians.
Costs on everything are going up.
Please tell legislators not to make our trips more expensive too.
Paid for by Airbnb helps our state thrive. Host Hack.
There's a sink at the brink and a drain that's a pain.
DayandNight.net.
Your old water heater, she's starting to peter.
DayandNight.net.
Plumbing emergency? Don't feel trapped. Do the smart thing and get a second opinion. Hi, I'm Bruce with Day and Night Plumbing and Heating. I guarantee you, whether Day and Night is your first choice or smart second opinion, we'll work harder than anyone to earn your trust.
DayandNight.net.
We're here with our friend Steve Teitler of Best Mortgage, the reverse mortgage expert. Steve, mortgage rates have been dropping this year. How could that help seniors struggling to stay in their homes?
Lower mortgage rates means seniors can now get more money from their equity with a reverse mortgage. You can pay off your existing mortgage, have extra money to help with today's high cost of living, or believe it or not, you can even buy a home with a reverse mortgage. There are many uses, and best of all, you have no mortgage payments the rest of your life.
But as you always say, a reverse mortgage is not for everyone.
That's right. Avoid the high-pressure sales pitch from those out-of-state call centers. I give you a consultation, not a sales pitch. I'll tell you if a reverse mortgage is right for you, and I always tell you if it's not.
Honest advice you can trust from the reverse mortgage experts. Best Mortgage, the VA loan experts and debt consolidation specialists too. 425-649-6000. Best Mortgage, 425-649-6000.
Seattle's Morning News on KIRO Newsradio. And now, here's your host, Charlie Harger.
Due process is the legal principle that guarantees fair treatment and a chance to be heard before the government can take away your rights or freedom. It's a cornerstone of our justice system, and we're talking about it today with former Washington State Attorney General Rob McKenna. Rob, let's just start there. How is due process typically handled, let's say, in deportation cases, which are making the news right now?
Well, there are due process rights for individuals who are being detained. This is the central issue in the case involving Judge Boasberg and the Venezuelan gang members who were sent down to El Salvador. It's like, did they require due process if they were a threat to national security? Maybe not, but or maybe not as much due process. But what he was asking is, what process did the government follow to determine who among those people who were on those airplanes that went to El Salvador had been determined to be members of gangs, right? So that was what he was getting at. There was a third airplane that contained people the government said had received due process. They were not being deported because they were gang members. They were being deported for other reasons, and they were not the people sent to the El Salvadoran prison. But the point here, the larger point here, is that at the border, or if you cross the border illegally, you have less protection than someone does who's a citizen. And even citizens of America have somewhat fewer protections when they're crossing the border than you would normally expect to have under the Fourth Amendment, which protects us from unreasonable searches and seizures. So border officers can inspect without a warrant any person trying to come into the country and their belongings, including their electronic devices like their phones and laptops.
And that is within 100 miles of the border. So you could be deep into Bellingham, Skagit County even.
Yeah, if you cross the border and you know, CBP officers caught up with you and said, hey, we need to talk to you. We need to look at your belongings. We need to have you turn your cell phone on, your laptop on. They can make that demand, and you have to comply even if they don't have a warrant, because, you know, a blanket authority for warrantless routine searches at a port of entry or within 100 miles, you know, is baked into the law. Now, if it's more invasive, if they want to conduct a body cavity search, for example, or according to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, if they want to conduct a forensic analysis of your computer hard drive, they would have to have what's called reasonable suspicion, not just a hunch that more invasive search is required.
Getting back to due process, part of the thing here is this is the court's way of making sure that you're not doing something that is flippantly, that consideration has been paid, especially when we're talking about shipping these folks down to the prison in El Salvador. We want to make sure we're sending the right person and that there is a reason for it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, even people who come into this country illegally have some rights. Now, with the Venezuelan gang members, the government's argument is there is a national security issue. Of course, they used the 1798 Act that's designed to address people who are from a country we're at war with. And so that raises the question of, well, we're not in a declared state of war with Venezuela. Can they cite that act for those people? But you know, those are issues that can work their way through the courts. The main takeaway is that, you know, the government has a lot of power to designed to protect our borders, and it means that people who are here illegally do have fewer protections, and that certainly includes gang members. As for people who are not gang members but are claimed to be, they have some right to present their side of the story. But, you know, as we're seeing with these student deportations from college campuses, if you're here on a visa, if the State Department decides that you violated the terms of the visa and you shouldn't be here anymore, they can revoke that visa. And once your visa is revoked, then the government has the power to expel you from the country. And that's, of course, happening in several cases right now involving students from universities.
I am a guy, my career is predicated on the First Amendment, and I'm, of course, an American citizen born here. Are my rights different than those of, let's say, this tough student who, on the face of it, simply wrote a pro-Palestinian article in a school newspaper and the administration got upset about it?
Well, your rights are different in that you have every right to be in this country. You are a citizen of the United States. That's true for you as someone who's born in the country. It would be true for someone who's a naturalized citizen. Here, we're talking about students who are here as guests of the government, if you will. They're here at the pleasure of the government and the State Department. And they can be kicked out of the country if the State Department decides they shouldn't be here anymore. So, you know, the First Amendment doesn't protect them from their visas being canceled, and that's what's happening with some of these students.
For your KIRO News Radio forecast, some sprinkles this morning with low clouds and fog. This afternoon, plenty of sunshine, highs close to 60 right now. It's about 45 in downtown Seattle. Coming up, from credit card perks to AAA benefits to warehouse club extras, Kevin Brassler from checkbook.org joins us to revel in the perks that you are already entitled to. I'm Katrina Gashard. You're listening to KIRO News Radio.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
I saw her texting coming up to a stop sign, and so I saw the accident coming, and she T-boned us.
In the blink of an eye, Crystal's life changed when she suffered a severe spinal injury.
The pain was something I had never experienced before in my neck. I got massage therapy. I saw a chiropractor. I was prescribed muscle relaxers so I could sleep. I got depressed. Nothing was relieving the pain.
Drugs, sleepless nights, and depression. Sound familiar? I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist. At Sound Pain Solutions, our treatments include high-dose laser combined with spinal decompression and other comprehensive therapies to rehabilitate damaged discs. We use treatments that are non-surgical, FDA-cleared, drug and pain-free.
I was able to get off my pain medicines, and I was able to sleep through the night, and that was what I was desperate for.
To learn if you're a candidate for our treatment, call us. Sound Pain Solutions, 855-996-0025 or click soundpainsolutions.com.
Are you putting off your new kitchen plans? Why wait? Hi, I'm Chad Cicchini, owner of Heritage Homecraft, and we've got an offer you're not going to want to wait for. We'll custom build you all new cabinet doors and drawer fronts, and using our exclusive 1/4-inch solid wood refacing process, transform your existing cabinets into a beautiful new kitchen. Add a custom quartz countertop, change things up a bit, add some more cabinets, install some cool new features like soft close drawers and sliding shelves. Whatever you like, we'll help you create the new kitchen you'll be proud of. All in about a week, and all with way less mess, hassle, and expense than a tear out. Stop waiting. We're having a trade-in sale. You'll save $30 per door and drawer front off the cost of your new kitchen. Count them up and see how much you'll save. Years of experience, thousands of happy customers. Call today and let one of our pros come out and show you how easy and comfortable it'll be to get going on your new kitchen. Heritage Homecraft, 425-485-1600, 425-485-1600, or heritagehomecraft.com.
Well, this week's First Mark Challenge victory is a little different. We actually reach out to the small business world, to Joel Taylor and Sean O'Donnell from Sean O'Donnell's Restaurants. Sean, when Joel brought this to you, the idea of why don't we take this First Mark Challenge victory, what was your thought?
My goal was to save some money and to simplify our operations. We've got 6 locations now, and along with that comes complications. And when things get complicated, things that are important get forgotten. First Mark was able to simplify that and also save us money.
Not only have they saved us money, they helped us identify some blind spots in our policies. Their service team has been phenomenal, unparalleled in my experience, given us a lot more solutions with better coverage, and just made too much sense.
First Mark's just made it easy for us.
So if you're a business owner and your insurance is in need of simplifying and streamlining and eliminate the stress, do what Sean O'Donnell's Restaurants did. Reach out to First Mark Insurance. Just go to firstmarkinsurance.com. First Mark Insurance, your teammate in the business world too. Going to work for you.
It's clogged again.
Your drain?
Just had it cleared.
You didn't call Apollo Plumbing.
How can you tell?
Because your drain's clogged again.
So frustrating.
We can clear that drain.
That's what the last guy said.
We'll clear it, guaranteed.
He said that too.
Apollo Plumbing will clear your drain, or it's free.
Wait, what?
Apollo Plumbing clears your drain.
Or it's free?
Yep.
What's the catch?
No catch.
Fine print?
Apollo Plumbing clears your main drain for $83.
$83, or it's free?
And we'll even give you a camera inspection.
Because Because?
It's the best way to find what's causing your clog.
But that's extra.
Nope, included.
No extra charge?
Not 1 cent.
83 or it's free.
All it takes is an accessible outside cleanout.
And an Apollo plumber.
No clog is safe from Apollo Plumbing.
And just like that, my main drain is...
Draining again.
How can you...
Apollo plumbers are that good.
83 or it's free.
You call, we come.
My drain's draining again.
Guaranteed.
83 or it's free.
As it should be.
Apollo Plumbing.
ApolloPlumbing.com.
Kids, 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. You'll get a maximum tax deduction and a vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
April 6th at Tropical Smoothie Cafe, rewards members get $5 off an acai bowl or an acai bowl with Nutella. Log into the app on April 6th to redeem your rewards. Terms and conditions apply.
Hair the very next day, they addressed my bald spot, and the results have been absolutely life-changing. And get this, Dr. Parango and his world-class team at Advanced Hair were recently awarded 425 Business of the Year. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grabs.
97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning. I'm Katrina Gashard. President Trump announced a 10% universal tariff that will kick in for U.S. trade partners in just a matter of days. In less than a week, reciprocal tariffs against nearly 100 nations will start. CBS's Rami Inocencio is in London and says the UK avoided the highest of Trump's tariff rates.
Exports is just 10%. And I say just because we now know that it could have been far, far worse. About 70 other countries have been hit with higher rates.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer met with business leaders this morning and warned that these tariffs will have an economic impact globally. Today, the U.S. House is expected to prove you are a U.S. citizen before you can legally vote. Former Washington Secretary of State Kim Wyman, a Republican, tells KIRO News Radio's Gian Ursula this will likely end up in court.
There's no database of American citizens that election officials could use to compare their voter registration.
In Seattle's New Holly neighborhood, around 1 a.m., officers responded to a report of a disturbance in the 6900 block of Martin Luther King Jr. Way South. They found a 47-year-old man unconscious. He's in Harborview in serious condition. So far, no suspects have been found. One found 12:45 yesterday afternoon. Jasper Ackerman tells KIRO 7 TV he saw the scene while touring the complex.
My heart, my emotions, my feelings, my empathy, everything goes out to them. I hope, they hear better news. It is unfortunate that one of them didn't make it.
Detectives are still investigating 27th of March, as well as several other locations, and may have exposed others. This is the third case of measles in Washington since January. Measles is extremely contagious and can cause serious complications and even death in young children. The vaccine is 97% effective. And for your radio forecast, we've got some sprinkles and low clouds and some fog this morning. This afternoon, plenty of sunshine. Highs close to 60. Right now, it's about 45 in downtown Seattle. I'm Katrina Gashard. You're listening to KIRO News Radio.
Your best source for local news, serving Western Washington and the world with the KIRO News Radio app. Always streaming live on your smart speakers. You're listening to KIRO.
You ever wonder if you're missing out on freebies hiding in plain sight? From credit card perks to AAA benefits to warehouse club extras, Kevin Brassler from checkbook.org joins us to reveal the hidden goodies you're already entitled to.
So, a lot of the perks offered by Costco might surprise you if you're not used to seeing them. They have free, basically a travel agency. They offer discounts on things like rental cars. We often find that it offers the best prices for rental cars. It offers to extend your warranty by usually a year if there's a manufacturer. Dealers in the area that will offer to sell a price for what Costco thinks is a good deal. It's not so surprising, though, if you know that Costco really counts on almost all its profits for its member fee. It wants you to sign up for a Costco membership, and it wants you to keep renewing. And so in addition to getting, the really low prices on stuff it's selling, it's trying to give you some other perks to throw in there to keep you attached. And so Amazon, I think most people originally signed on for Prime because it had free 2-day shipping. Usually, if your order's $35 or more, you can get that anyway. So Amazon needs another reason and other incentives to try to get us to sign up for Prime and stay signed up. So it does things like, free will attached to it.
What should I be aware of? Is there any fine print catches that might get me?
Yeah, I think especially we dug into a lot of the perks offered by credit cards, and especially travel credit cards often promote not so well. When they're looking to sign people up, they really promote all the perks you can get with your credit card, like purchase protection. These credit card companies say, "Oh, if you drop your new TV or whatever and break it, we'll replace it or refund you." But if you dig into the policy, those purchase protection, basically it's secondary insurance to your homeowners or renters coverage. So you have to file a claim and then because it's just the deductible or whatever, right? And the same is true for rental car coverage. A lot of the rental car coverage is out there that you get with your credit card, which is the collision damage waiver coverage. It's secondary to your auto insurance plan. And so what they're offering in terms of trip protection and all the
deal from credit card companies, not so much.
I think it speaks to when a credit card company offers you something like trip protection or extended warranties for free, as does Costco for free.
I just turned 50, and I got the letter in the mail, and I signed up for AARP. It looks like they have some good benefits in terms of perks. What should I be looking for there?
Yeah, I think that, there are a lot of organizations out there that are nice to get these discounts. But, some of the things they offer, you should at least search around to make sure you're getting the best deal. And that especially when it comes to insurance. AARP offers its own lines of insurance, either health insurance or, Medigap supplement plans, auto and home insurance, anything without checking around first.
Well, I was able to get a card in my wife's name, and she's a few years younger than me. And boy, she just laughed and laughed and laughed seeing her name
she's
on
hit
an
the big
AARP card.
She's one of us now, huh?
Yeah, I slept on the couch. Well, maybe not. All right, Kevin Brassler, checkbook.org, and we have a link, checkbook.org/KIRO-FM/free, giving you some access to these tips.
I'm Katrina Gashard. You're listening to KIRO Newsradio.
Shake and Spike, noon to 3.
From King County Executive to Sound Transit CEO, Tal Constantine is named next leader of the Regional Transit Agency.
$450,000 annual salary, guaranteed a 3% to 6% increase.
I've never felt worse about my job.
We should have applied.
We got the same qualifications.
Streaming live on the KIRO Newsradio app.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Listen up, fellow Gen Xers. Elizabeth Way. We've done this before. Music videos, fanny packs, even the World Wide Web. Let's do it again and get vaccinated because we're at over 6 times greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Gen X, this is our shot. Visit VaxAssist.com and schedule a vaccine today.
Your football buddy. Or you, your best man. Your worst man. You, your dog walker. Your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at
For local news, KIRO Newsradio, Northwest News.
Hey, it's me, second base at T-Mobile Park. In my view, it's pretty sweet. I can see the big dumper flashing his platinum glove, firing a perfect throw right at me. Here comes the tag. Oh, got him.
Another round to third with a 2-out, 3-run triple.
And JP, smooth as silk, snaring line drives out of thin air.
And he takes a hit away!
Come check it out for yourself. There's nothing like being this close to the action. Although I'm still waiting to get invited to the wind dance. A base can dream.
The Mariners are squaring off against Houston Monday, April 7th to Wednesday, April 9th, and Texas Friday, April 11th to Sunday, April 13th. Go to Mariners.com to lock in your seats and check out all the marquee matchups on deck at the ballpark.
Are you looking at diversification and stability with your running local real estate investment funds for over 18 years? We've had 0 investor losses and have averaged
double-digit returns since inception. Maybe it's time to take a little risk off the table given market conditions. For stability, there's no better option than Legacy Group's Northwest Fund, a fixed return $250 million in our Legacy family of funds. Get in touch with us today. Legacy's Northwest Fund, returning 9%, has limited opening for new investors right now.
Call 425-635-4700 or visit legacyg.com. That's LegacyG.
And threats of countermeasures. Reaction to President Trump's sweeping new tariffs on every trading partner. Ursula von der Leyen heads the European Commission.
Let's be clear-eyed about the immense consequences. The global economy will massively suffer. Uncertainty will spiral.
2.4%, over 1,000 points. North Carolina resident Jerry Bandini's worried.
We're trying to buy new appliances and got to buy a car for my daughter, not another car for the family. And so, yeah, I'm very concerned about even 10%. Could be a lot of money for a $1,000 item.
President Trump's tariffs on import
applicable to the cars that are already on the lots at U.S. dealers.
That's Jill Schlesinger. CBS News Brief, I'm Michael Toscano.
For your KIRO News Radio forecast, some sprinkles this morning with low clouds and fog. This afternoon, plenty of sunshine, highs close to 60. Right now, it's about 45 in downtown Seattle. Coming up, drama unfolds in Olympia as Governor Bob Ferguson refuses to sign the budget proposal put forward by his fellow Democrats in the state Senate. We listening to KIRO News Radio.
Looking for the ultimate fun and dining experience? Come check out Nisqually Red Wind Casino, the South Sound's premier destination, or get in on the action with specials and dining discounts at their casual or fine dining restaurants. Give them a shot and see why they're the best. Only at Nisqually Red Wind Casino. Now,
D.R. Horton has new construction homes available throughout the greater Seattle area. With spacious floor plans, flexible living spaces, and throughout the Seattle area, D.R. Horton has the ideal home for you. Visit drhorton.com to learn more. D.R. Horton, America's builder, an equal housing opportunity builder.
Why is K2 Vision RLE a permanent solution to glasses, contacts, and readers? How is it that you'll
Vision RLE? We'll answer those questions and others when you join us for our free live webinar today at noon. Andy, what are some of the other questions you hear?
Well, how long is the procedure and recovery? Or who's a good candidate for RLE?
And we'll also answer how much does a
solution to glasses, contacts, and readers.
And cataracts too.
Right, no more cataracts.
K2 Vision's free live webinar today at noon. Space will be limited, so register
today at noon. Sign up at k2visionrle.com.
This is Seattle's Morning News.
With the Gov saying no way to budget proposals from his fellow Democrats in the state House and Senate, he says both raise taxes too much. And he says a proposed new wealth tax would draw lawsuits.
I think it is fair to say that the courts go either way on that issue. So it is simply not an option.
There is a lot to unpack here, and Jerry Cornfield with the Washington State Standard is following it all. Jerry, first-time caller, long-time listener. I love following your writing on state politics, so thanks for being here today.
You're welcome, and thank you. Started with his inauguration address about what he wanted to see. Voters hired a lawyer. A lawyer tends to enter in negotiations with, the strong position. And that's what I think he used yesterday. He wanted to signal on one issue, the wealth tax, in the next budget cycle from the wealth tax. And I think he wanted to say, look, that one does not cut it at all with me.
What I've heard from him is also, what is that looking like right now?
Well, I think all the cuts, the ones that people can find easily, have been talked about, identified. He knows that an all-cuts budget doesn't work, so he knows there will be revenue coming from new sources. He knows he will accept that. And quite frankly, the proposals he's put out don't erase the shortfall that keeps getting larger when he has press conferences. So I'd be cut that haven't already been identified. They just have to decide which ones they can all agree on.
We heard from Republican Representative Travis Couture, who's one of the budget writers on the House side for the Republicans, and he said it's kind of refreshing to have a governor who's in office, because in the election they were saying this would be one of the worst things ever to happen.
Well, and if you recall, Bob Ferguson as a candidate was saying some strong things about the Republicans' approach to leading the state and big business. He's working with them on some of their ideas, and it helped push back against Democrats who are far more progressive than he is. So this is politics. You find your friends where you can. There's a lot of pieces to this budget puzzle yet to be put together, and I think he's learning his way and making those relationships. And we've had governors work with Republicans. We didn't have much with the last governor. But
what about is money that comes from the federal government in terms of this was pandemic funding and other federal funds that he says we can't rely on. How big of an issue is that expected to be?
I think it's a huge issue. It's a huge question for the budget. Every day something comes out of the federal government and from President Trump that and it could have big impacts on the state, whether it's tariffs today, whether it's a budget that cuts into Medicaid. Governor Ferguson outlined several that the Trump administration is proposing. So, they may adopt a budget, send it to them on April 27th, and they could be back here in May, June, July, or some other month later this year.
And, Jerry, I spoke to one of the Senate budget writers, Senator June Robinson, associated taxes with having a larger payroll. But we heard Microsoft President Brad Smith recently say, no, this is a bad idea. How does that play into these calculations?
Well, I can tell you today, Brad Smith and 59 other leaders of business sent a letter to the governor and the leaders of the budget writers saying, don't do any of these taxes that you're talking about. At the same time, privately or publicly put down the ones that they can support. One of the issues with the payroll tax could be by exempting all the businesses in Seattle. If you pay it in Seattle, you'll be exempted from the state. It's going to be hard for lawmakers to vote for a tax knowing bigger picture. There's going to need to be some signaling from the business community of what they can support or will support, begrudgingly or not, to get the deal done in the end.
Okay, knew something was still missing. Starting Monday, we complete the team with a familiar voice to Seattle News listeners. The big reveal happens Monday morning on KIRO Newsradio.
It's a new year, but many seniors are struggling with the same old problem: high prices and rising property taxes. We're here with our friend Steve Teitler of Best Mortgage, and he says a reverse mortgage may be the answer.
Many seniors cannot afford to stay in the home they love. A reverse mortgage gives them access to equity in their home without having to sell. They can pay off their mortgage if they have one, and maybe pull some extra cash out of their home. And best of all, they have no mortgage payment the rest of their life.
But as you always say, a reverse mortgage is not for everyone.
That's right. Avoid the high-pressure sales pitch from those out-of-state call centers. I give you a consultation, not a sales pitch. I'll tell you if a reverse mortgage is right for you, and I always tell you if it's not.
Honest advice you can trust from the reverse mortgage experts. Best Mortgage. The VA loan experts and debt consolidation specialists too. 425-649-6000. Best Mortgage. 425-649-6000.
KIRO FM and HD1 Tacoma, Seattle.
You pledged your life to serve. You made sacrifices, lost loved ones. At VA, we don't see the falls you've taken. We see the 1,000 times you've stood back up. We embrace your uniqueness and won't trivialize your hardships. We can't promise to heal all wounds or wash away all trauma, but we do see a path forward. We see all veterans. We see you. Learn how treatment works and recovery is possible. Visit MakeTheConnection.net.
Well, this week's First Mark Challenge victory goes to Andre. Andre, why did you call First Mark Insurance?
My wife and I were going to get married, and we wanted to combine our insurance for both home and auto.
Were they able to save you any money?
The money they quoted us was actually the same as what we were paying separately. However, the coverage that we received was immensely greater than what we were previously receiving. It's quite scary how unprotected we were with our previous coverage. Under First Mark, I'd probably say we doubled the coverage that we had. It was a huge deal.
What would you tell others they can expect when they make that call to First Mark?
Take the 15-minute phone call. It's totally free. It's not going to cost me anything. And the very least that could happen is just gain a better understanding. The best that could happen is it could either save money or get much better coverage, which is exactly what happened.
Andre did it. My family did it. You got to do it, and it's totally free. Take the First Mark Challenge today. See how much they can save you and how much better your coverage will get. Maybe you will be our next First Mark Challenge victory. Just go to firstmarkinsurance.com.
Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. Be the someone who gives their time. Be the someone who lends an ear. Be the someone who takes a step. This is Christina Ricci with RAIN, asking you to join the fight against sexual violence and volunteer in your community. Log on to RAIN.org, that's RAINN.org, to learn how you can be the someone.
This message brought to you by the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network and this station.
There's a sink at the brink and a drain that's a pain.
DayandNight.net.
You got a pipe with a leak, water's reaching its peak.
DayandNight.net.
Your old water heater, she's starting to peter.
DayandNight.net.
The throne's not too well, and ooh, does it smell?
DayandNight.net.
Have a clogged drain, water heater issue, or plumbing repair, and wish you could get a second opinion? Maybe it's sticker shock, or you'd like to know your options. Hi, I'm Bruce, General Manager of Day and Night Plumbing and Heating. Don't feel trapped. Do the smart thing and get a second opinion. Day and Night will provide you with a fair and honest quote, explain all your options, and help you with the right solution. Give us a call or visit dayandnight.net. I guarantee you, whether Day and Night is your first choice or smart second opinion, we'll work harder than anyone to earn your trust.
DayandNight.net.
My name is Carlos, and I'm a Cub Scout. I'm here to talk to you today about becoming a scout like me. Cub Scouts get badges for doing fun activities, and we make friends. Scouts go camping, climbing, and fishing, and swimming together. We play sports and go to parades. Scouts also help people and become the best versions of themselves. Visit bascout.org to find a pack near you, get any questions answered, and sign up for Cub Scouts online.
It's happening. Your hair is thinning, crowns disappearing. Hair loss had me feeling like I had lost my identity. Thankfully, Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment turned it all around. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's your own natural hair guaranteed to grow for life. It's why Dr. Perungo and Advanced Hair are the winner of the 425 Business of the Year. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts, call 425-449-8185. AdvancedHair.com.
He flew fighter jets in 2 wars and taught you how to drive a car. He fed everyone on the block, but never shared his secret recipes. And every time he'd tell a story, he'd own the room. But now more than ever, he may feel alone. Today, older adults and their loved ones are struggling to connect in a time when connection has never been more important. But there is something we can do. Embrace our older loved ones through StoryCorps Connect. With StoryCorps Connect, you can honor seniors remotely with an interview about their life. Every interview will be archived at the Library of Congress, becoming part of American history, so that years from now, future generations can listen in.
All right, Grandpa, what's one piece of advice you have for me?
Just 3 words, sweetheart. Live with courage. The man that had the best stories still has plenty of stories to tell. So connect virtually and share the conversation of a lifetime at StoryCorpsConnect.org/AARP. Connect, honor, share. StoryCorps Connect. A message from AARP, StoryCorps, and the Ad Council.
Are you putting off your new kitchen plans? Why wait? Hi, Chad Cicchini, owner of Heritage Homecraft. Call today and ask about our trade-in sale. Years of experience, thousands of happy customers. Heritage Homecraft, 425-485-1600 or heritagehomecraft.com.
Your best source for local news. KIRO Newsradio, KIRO FM and HD1, Tacoma, Seattle, Northwest News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. Americans are holding their collective breath a day after President Trump announced the highest tariffs in nearly a century.
As people who weren't in favor of his platform and what they were running for, watched other people get duped, and now we're all paying the price for it.
Very concerned about even 10%. Could be a lot of money for a $1,000 item.
Fears have set in ahead of the markets open in half an hour. Dow futures are down 1288. Nas futures off more than 4%. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is defending the new tariffs.
Lutnick told CBS Mornings, America has taken care of the world. Now, he says, it's time to take care of American manufacturing and workers and balance the trade deficit. He acknowledges the tariffs will drive some prices up.
Foreign goods may become a little more expensive, but domestic goods do not.
As for the slumping stock market, as investors fear a global trade war?
Sure, there's going to be some short-term movement, but this is a reordering of global trade.
Michael Wallace, CBS News.
Tariffs on cars and trucks kick in today. One manufacturer has announced special pricing. WWJ's Jeff Gilbert from Detroit.
Ford will offer employee pricing on most of its vehicles from now until June 2nd. The deal comes as car makers are concerned that tariff-related fears could keep people away from dealerships.
At least 3 deaths have been confirmed in violent storms and tornadoes that tore through cities from Oklahoma to Indiana, Texas to West Virginia. 4 people were injured in Kentucky when a church was hit by debris. The fear now, water. CBS meteorologist Kate Bilo.
This is going to be days upon days of potential flooding rainfall. How much are we talking? We could see as much as 10 inches of rain before all is said and done.
The same day Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu arrived in Budapest, Hungary's government says it's leaving the International Criminal Court. Reporter Linda Gradstein from Jerusalem.
The trip to Hungary is Netanyahu's second trip abroad since the ICC issued its arrest warrant against him, accusing him of war crimes in Gaza. Instead of arresting Netanyahu, Hungary welcomed him with a military honor band and said the country would begin the process of withdrawal from the ICC.
Maybe it's the price? Disneyland and Disney World conspicuously absent from a top 5 list of favorite theme parks. Number 1, Orlando's Discovery Cove. 2nd, Knoebel's Amusement Resort in Pennsylvania. Next, Tennessee's Smoky Mountain Alpine Coaster. And then Universal Islands of Adventure in Florida, followed by Disney California Adventure. NASDAQ futures down 881. This is CBS News.
A riddle brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com.
Coming up, we'll tell you what we're learning about a stabbing this morning in Seattle. But first, let's head over to the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk with Chris Sullivan.
Morning, Charlie. We're off to a really good start on this Thursday morning. Not that fake Thursday yesterday that I talked about. We're looking at brake lights right there at Highway 18 coming up the Valley Freeway, but not too bad. We're under 20 minutes to go from Auburn to Renton and under 40 all the way from the Puyallup area. If you're continuing up the corridor on 405 northbound, the Renton S-curves are not bad. You'll look at about 15 minutes to get up to Bellevue. Northbound I-5 starting to see a little slowing by the Kent-Des Moines Road, a little bit up by I-90 overall, under 40 minutes to run the length there. Behind that, Olympia to Tacoma coming up not too bad either. Relatively quiet in Snohomish County as we start this morning. We're looking at 35 minutes from Everett to Seattle or Everett to Bellevue, and we're looking at nice and easy drives across the lake. This report brought to you by D.R. Horton. With over 20 Puget Sound communities, D.R. Horton is the right home for you. Learn more at drhorton.com. D.R. Horton, America's builder and equal housing opportunity builder.
KIRO Newsradio, 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning. It's 43 degrees in Seattle. At 6:04, I'm Charlie Harger. We are starting to learn more about what happened in an early morning stabbing in Seattle. It was around 1 a.m. KIRO News Radio's Luke Ducey is here live in the studio with what he's found out.
Yeah, Charlie, I was just at that scene just a little bit ago. The scene has been cleared. Police say they found a 47-year-old man unconscious in the lobby of an apartment building in South Seattle. This is on MLK Way between Myrtle and Willow Streets. Police say there was some sort of argument that led up to this stabbing. Firefighters rushed to the scene. They worked on the victim, and they took him to Harborview. But that's when, at Harborview, they figured out he had been stabbed multiple times. Police say he's listed in serious condition. So far, no suspects and no arrests. Charlie.
Thanks, Luke. Dozens of people were arrested in an apparent immigration raid in Western Washington yesterday morning.
37 people were taken into custody at a Bellingham roofing company. Immigration and Customs Enforcement tells the Seattle Times the people arrested allegedly had misrepresented their immigration status and submitted fraudulent documents while seeking employment. According to an ICE statement, the raid was part of investigations into, quote, worksite violations and or the exploitation of workers. Frank Lindsay, KIRO News Radio.
President Trump's new tariffs could cost Washington businesses and families in a big way. The so-called reciprocal policy means new taxes on imports from China, Europe, and others. Washington relies heavily on trade, with 1 in 4 jobs here tied to it. State officials warn this could lead to another trade war. Seattle Times reports the Port of Tacoma's leaders say prices are already on the way up. A home builder says the tariffs could add thousands to the cost of new homes, and farmers may lose key foreign markets, and that is something they are not particularly excited about this morning. We're watching Wall Street. on Wall Street right now. Dow futures are down 3%. S&P 500 is down 5.5%, and NASDAQ is down 4.5%. We'll continue to follow this throughout the morning. It's 6:06.
Seattle's Morning News
with your host, Charlie Harger.
Great to have you here with us on this Thursday. Sully, we are watching that Wall Street ticker, the opening bell, particularly of interest this morning.
The free fall.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it turns out. Trump's side says it is something that is necessary. Detractors say it's going to cost the economy. So
I'm watching my 401k and my desire to eventually retire.
Yeah. That means we get to keep you longer, Sully.
That means we get to stay. Well, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, guys, silver lining.
Yeah, there you go.
Anyway.
We're still also waiting on our new co-host. They join us on Monday morning.
Okay.
There are a lot of guesses that are happening on social media who it is.
It's not me.
Well, come on, man. We have a bunch of guesses. In fact, I would say, as I've seen coming through the text line, about 20% of people are right.
Nice. Okay. Well, when you find out and let me know.
Okay, yeah.
I want to be prepared for Monday morning.
You might want to take a shower. That's all I'm saying.
Just checking. All right.
This hour of Seattle's Morning News, sponsored by American Crawl Space and Pest Control. Coming up this hour, CBS correspondent Willie James Inman talks to us about the fallout from the tariff announcement yesterday. And Sully, you have a choke point coming up?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to do another attempt to remind everybody about the new Real ID Act that we've been talking about for 15 to 25 years now. It's really taking effect in about a month.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to delay it anymore.
I don't think so either. But so just again, what you need to do if you're trying right now to go get one with about a month to go before maybe a flight in May.
Okay, it's 6:08. Charges have been filed against the woman accused of kidnapping a girl from a daycare in the Seattle area. It set off the Amber Alert Friday. KIRO 7 TV's Elle Thomas has details.
That suspect abandoned the girl in her car and even tried to make a getaway in an Uber. So police say the toddler's family even had a restraining order against the suspect, Kiana Daniels. But according to those docs, a judge lifted it, and Daniels went straight from the hearing to the daycare to take that girl. She made it to Federal Way, where police say she left the child in her car, tried to take a ride share, but a witness recognized her from the Amber Alert and stopped that driver from leaving. Police arrested her a little while later. She is facing kidnapping charges.
Charges have now been filed against the suspect in Sunday morning's double homicide at a Rainier Beach hookah lounge. 25-year-old Leonte Berry faces 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of unlawful possession of a firearm. He's being held on $5 million bail. He'll be arraigned April 16th. Police say he shot and killed 2 people, including a security guard, at the Capri Hookah Lounge along Rainier Avenue. The teen accused of killing another teen during a drug deal gone bad was arraigned yesterday morning at the Regional Justice Center in Kent. 18-year-old Zaire Orr is charged with murder in the first degree for fatally shooting 19-year-old McKinley Williams during a small marijuana sale February 4th. King County prosecutors allege Orr planned to rob Williams and eventually shot Williams once in the head. Here's Casey McNerthney with the King County Prosecutor's Office.
He pleaded not guilty, remains in custody, and then has a pretrial hearing coming up later on this month.
Bail is set at $3 million. Investigators say a teenager is dead. Another 2 are in critical condition in Skyway. Here's KIRO 7 TV's Samantha Lomibao.
Skyway Fire responded to 3 unresponsive children just before 1 p.m. Sadly, one of them did not survive, and the 2 others were taken to the hospital in critical condition.
I just hope that everybody is okay and everything gets figured out and it just doesn't happen again.
Jasper Ackerman says he saw the scene while touring the complex, but he was heartbroken to find out why deputies were there.
I hope, they hear better news. It is unfortunate that one of them didn't make it.
The King County Sheriff's Office were only able to tell us that their major crimes unit is investigating.
6:10, Amazon, Microsoft, and even the Mariners are among the big Washington businesses to come out against state wealth and payroll taxes. This week, Governor Bob Ferguson rejected 2 Democratic budgets that included a wealth tax, saying it wasn't prudent to base spending on a novel and legally untested tax. In a letter to state Democrats signed by those companies and many others, they say the budget proposals would, in their words, result in the largest tax increases in state history, perpetuating a dangerous trend of unsustainable spending growth. Washington state lawmakers are trying to fix $1 billion shortfall in the transportation budget, but they don't agree on how. The House has just passed a $15.2 billion plan. The Washington State Standard reports the Senate version is more than $1 billion bigger and handles fish passage funding differently. It also includes furlough days for state workers, which the House plan doesn't. Both sides want to raise the gas tax starting in July. The Senate would make it 6 cents and adjust for inflation every year. The House wants a 9-cent bump to your gallon of gas. The House also wants a new highway fee based on your car's fuel efficiency. The Senate plan adds luxury car and event venue fees. Negotiators have until April 27th to strike a deal or risk leaving road projects incomplete. And now at 6:12, let's head over to the weather, brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. KIRO 7 pinpoint meteorologist Nick Allard is here. Hey, Nick.
Hey, good morning. We're talking about a mix of some low clouds and mainly dry weather. We have had a few sprinkles in Snohomish County. I don't really think you'll see a lot more this morning. So just a couple of sprinkles, and then I think you'll go with increasing sunshine. So some low clouds, yes. Little patchy fog, yes. And then sunshine and temperatures getting easily into at least the upper 50s. Normal for today is 57, and I have you at 57. Starting off in the 30s and 40s. Then tomorrow, I think you're just going to see mainly clear skies. You could have a tiny bit of patchy fog, and then sunshine developing. Beautiful day. Highs will top out around like 65 to 67. Upper 60 Saturday. And I will say Saturday you will see increasing clouds. You're going to see some high clouds pushing in throughout the day. So eventually kind of like that high overcast, that filtered sunshine, leading to maybe a little bit of light rain on Sunday and then increasing rain later in the day into Monday. Still be around 60 or so before we get back into the mid-50s Monday and Tuesday. So we get, at least a few spring days, but we also have to deal with spring showers coming later Sunday and into Monday.
So if I need to mow my lawn, Saturday is the day.
Well, as soon as you do it, it's like washing your car. You know what happens. Then we get snow and Sharknadoes and stuff. So if you want to be selfish, go for it.
Okay, I went through the car wash yesterday. It was a bad idea. One of those showers you said might spring up, it sprang up.
Yeah, then you realize you were in a convertible and didn't have the top up. It was a whole thing.
That's how I roll. Yeah. All right, Nick, thanks. Right now in Seattle, it is partly cloudy and 43. At 6:13, let's head over to the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk with Sully.
And we're enjoying a really good drive on this Thursday morning. No real things to get in your way. We do have a little bit of slowing right by the Highway 18 interchange going up northbound 167, but really just a little kernel of it there. We still have under 40 minutes from Puyallup up to Renton, and Renton to Bellevue is still rolling under 20, so that corridor is going to be pretty good. Only 40 minutes from Auburn up into Bellevue. Northbound I-5, nice and easy. Olympia to Tacoma with about a 32-minute trip. And then Federal Way to Seattle's not too bad. Under 40 there. A little slowing approaching 320th, but that's about it. Coming down from the north end, starting to see a little bit of action in the usual places. Westbound across the Trestle, I-5 south of the Boeing Freeway. A little bit in Linwood, a little bit in Canyon Park. But 40 minutes or less from Everett to Seattle or Everett to Bellevue is a pretty good number. Lake Bridges are fine. 18 and 16 looking really good. KIRO News Radio Real-Time Traffic. I'm Chris Sullivan.
And now at 6:15, we head over to the news desk with KIRO News Radio's Katrina Gishard.
Good morning, Charlie. A third measles case has been identified in Washington this year, this time in a Snohomish County infant. The health department said the child was likely exposed during a recent trip out of the country. They were at SeaTac Airport on March 27th, as well as several other locations, and may have exposed others. Measles is extremely contagious and can cause serious health complications and even death in young children. The Mariners finally earned a win in their first game day of the season. They won 3-2 against the Detroit Tigers. Manager Dan Wilson said it's a good bit of momentum ahead of the off day today.
It is a big win for us, and they came in here and swung the bat the first couple games, but for us to take that, that's a big W.
Next up, the Giants this weekend. First pitch is at 1:35 tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I think the conversations around the water cooler would be a lot different this morning if that was another L for the Mariners.
They almost gave it away,
Indeed.
too. They
Yeah.
loaded the bases in the ninth inning. Detroit did.
Well, they still won. Sully, let's look
A
at the
win is
positive,
a
my
win.
friend.
Yeah, I was sitting there watching it going, oh, man, this would be
Here we
such a
go.
Mariners way. But they hung on. So.
They hung on. Go M's. 6:16.
You're listening to Seattle's Morning News on KIRO News Radio. Here's Charlie Harder.
President Trump marks what now is being called Liberation Day, in his words, with a new trade policy. He's calling for a 10% minimum tariff on all imported goods. Part of what he says is a push to bring jobs back to the U.S. Trump says the move will help American factories and shrink the trade gap. A lot of economists say the result could be just the opposite. Higher prices, more inflation, and a hit to the economy. CBS News correspondent Willie James Inman joins us live with more on the plan and the fallout. Okay, Willie, we are, about 18 hours since the announcement. What's the mood like in Washington, D.C.?
Hey there. Good to be with you. Well, the White House is full steam ahead on this plan. The president has really talked about it for weeks, and of course during his campaign as part of his economic vision to not only reshape Washington, but reshape trade relations with most of the world. And with this announcement yesterday and what he called, as you described, Liberation Day, tariffs on many of the U.S.'s trade partners and allies, foes, such as China, for instance, a 34% reciprocal tariff there. Now, the president and the White House is noting that most of these reciprocal tariffs are only half of what other countries charge. For instance, they point out that China charges some 67%, so that 34% reciprocal tariff is half of that. So this is just part of an effort to reshape those relationships, but there could certainly be some pain for consumers seeking to buy goods that are imported from all of these nations.
What are the president's detractors saying about this?
Yeah, well, a lot of this is certainly, a lot of the criticism, I should say, is that it will raise prices, that it could potentially hurt businesses' bottom line, because if a business, for instance, tries to reshore some of their production or reshore some of their products, they might not have the proper supply chain in place to do just that. President Trump says that this will not only make America wealthy again with the bringing in the tariffs. He says that he believes, or the White House believes, that it'll be able to bring back production back here to the United States. While we have seen some companies make big announcements in terms of investments, it takes years to get factories up and running. It is also not guaranteed that companies will reshore their production. They could potentially look elsewhere to do that. So it's not a guaranteed thing. When the White House talks about we're going to bring back manufacturing, we're going to make sure that companies set up their operations here. So certainly that is some of the criticism that we're seeing from economists who are saying that this could raise prices and hurt businesses down the road.
All right. CBS News correspondent Willie James Inman, thanks for joining us live this morning.
You bet.
It's 6:19, and looking on Wall Street right now, stocks, the futures are still way down, down 1268 on the Dow. That's 3%, 3.5% on S&P 500, 4.5% on NASDAQ futures. That opening bell is at 6:30, so we will watch when the markets open. Other stories we're following: Luigi Mangione, who's accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in Manhattan in December, now face the death penalty. On Tuesday, Attorney General Pam Bondi released a statement directing prosecutors to seek that punishment for Mangione.
Luigi Mangione, who is accused of gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson outside a Manhattan hotel last December, may now be facing the death penalty. On Tuesday, Attorney General Pam Bondi released a statement directing prosecutors to seek the capital punishment for Mangione, saying the murder was a premeditated and cold-blooded assassination that shocked America. Bondi says she made the decision as part of President Trump's agenda to stop violent crime by reinstating the death penalty in some federal cases.
The death penalty is on the table in federal cases where it is statutorily allowed and where the prosecution thinks essentially that the case is particularly heinous.
In a statement, an attorney for Mangione condemned the Attorney General's directive, saying, quote, while claiming to protect against murder, the federal government moves to commit the premeditated state-sponsored murder of Luigi. In New York, Mangione is facing several charges, including first-degree murder and terrorism-related charges, which could result in a life sentence. The federal charge of murder through the use of a firearm could result in the death penalty if convicted.
There will be separate trials in the state cases versus the federal cases. Each case will proceed under a different set of laws. There will be different prosecutors, different juries. These are completely separate trials.
Mangione has not yet been arraigned on federal charges. His next hearing in that federal case is scheduled for later this month. In addition to New York, he's also facing state charges in Pennsylvania, including giving a fake ID to police and carrying a gun without a license.
Lilia Luciano reporting. It's 6:22. We head over to the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk. Here's Sully.
And we are seeing our volumes build. If you're coming down out of the north end, you're definitely going to hit the brake lights on I-5 and 405 away from Linwood. They're not as heavy as you might expect, but they're there, especially on 405 as you work your way down through Bothell. We're over 40 minutes now from Everett to Bellevue, a little under 40 minutes from Everett to Seattle. The northbound I-5 drive from Federal Way to Seattle, a little over 40 minutes, but not by much. There's a nice little gap in the middle between the Boeing Access Road and about the Kent Des Moines Road, so a pretty decent drive there. Valley Freeway, though, get a little over 40 minutes to go from Puyallup to Renton, a little bit more slowing through the merging there past Highway 18 coming up out of the Auburn area, not quite all the way up to Emerald Downs. And then Renton to Bellevue is a solid 20 minutes. The lake bridges are quiet. Olympia to Tacoma has no issues for you guys. A nice, easy 35-minute trip. Tiger Mountain looking really good on 18 and back and forth between Port Orchard and Tacoma. No issues for you guys. This report brought to you by Lake Washington Windows and Doors, offering premium windows that are 25% more efficient than Energy Star ratings and reducing outside noise by up to 50%. Visit LakeWashingtonWindows.com today.
After a few sprinkles this morning, sunshine takes over this afternoon. Highs near 60. Will be even warmer tomorrow and Saturday. Mid to upper 60s, possibly 70 in the South Sound. Rain returns sometime late Sunday and into early next week, but we'll take this sun while we can get it. Right now in Seattle, it's 43 at 6:23, and coming up, the details we're learning about a big ice raid in Bellingham. That's on the way here on Seattle's Morning News.
KIRO Newsradio, your home for the John Curley Show. Weekdays from 3 to 7 p.m.
The Hatfields and the McCoys, right? We used to win like 51%. Of course, you had to care. But when they do the redistricting and everybody's able to win with supermajority in there, and you don't have to listen to the other side. What you have now is the hard right that gets elected with 70% of the votes, the hard left getting elected with 70% of the votes. They don't have to negotiate at all.
Streaming live on your smart speaker.
Washington State has the third highest cost of living in the nation. If Olympia politicians raise taxes again, the cost of everything from groceries and gas to housing will go up even more. They've already doubled spending over 10 years, with little to show for it. Washington State needs lower costs, not higher taxes. Demand smarter state spending now at affordablewashington.org. Paid for by people for an affordable Washington and Olympia, Washington. Top 5 donors are Washington Alliance for Competitive Economy, Microsoft, Madrona, T-Mobile, and Alaska Air.
Need a new roof but not in the budget? A new roof doesn't have to break the bank. Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors here. Right now, State Roofing and Exteriors is offering 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for up to 24 months. That's 2 years with no payments while getting the protection your home deserves. But this offer won't last forever. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today to get on our summer schedule now. State Roofing and Exteriors, held to a higher standard since 1968.
Charlie Harger here. When your hot turns to cold, you better think fast. Fast water heater. Call 1-800-THINK-FAST. That's 1-800-THINK-FAST or fastwaterheater.com.
You better think fast. Fast water heater.
Bright Star Care gives you a higher standard of in-home care. For seniors, adults, and children, Bright Star Care has a home care option just for you. Call 206-777-1190 or go to brightstarcare.com/King County.
Was drafted in 1999 by the Philadelphia 76ers, and that was just absolutely a dream come true.
Todd's playing in the NBA is unique. His battle with neuropathy is not.
I first started noticing problems a couple of years into my NBA career, and I felt like my sock was just balled up right in the arch of my foot, and there'd be areas of burning and tingling, and then there'd be other areas of deadness where there would be no response to touch. We tried everything possible, from surgery to different drugs, to try and take care of some of the symptoms.
I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. Our neuropathy treatments can rehabilitate damaged nerves. We use FDA-cleared, non-surgical, non-drug, pain-free procedures that have helped thousands of neuropathy sufferers find relief.
Now I'm able to spend more time doing the things that I enjoy, being on my feet.
If you experience numbness, shooting, or burning pains, or loss of balance, call us. Sound Pain Solutions, 855-996-0025, or click soundpainsolutions.com.
Are you trying to buy a new home, or are you a local real estate agent seeking financing for a client? We're all tired of dealing with banks, credit unions, and endless guidelines. Wouldn't it be nice to go back in time when we had common sense lending? Hi, I'm Scott Rureka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. We are one of the largest local private portfolio lenders in Washington. We've helped thousands of home buyers and real estate investors reach their financial goals by leveraging the Legacy Common Sense borrowing platform. What that means is we lend our own money, we make our own decisions. If your deal makes sense, we'll get it done. Whether you're purchasing a new piece of real estate or refinancing an existing loan, bridge loans, construction, or regular home loan, it doesn't have to be as difficult as banks and lenders make it. If you're trying to grow wealth through real estate acquisition, come talk to the experts in private lending.
Call 425-635-4700 or LegacyG.com. Legacy Group Capital, your common sense lender. LegacyG.com.
Lowe's knows how to help pros save. That's why the new MyLowe's Pro Rewards program lets you unlock exclusive member deals on the things you need every day on the job. Plus, MyLowe's Pro Rewards members can get volume discounts on eligible orders through a quote of $2,000 or more. Join for free today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Exclusions, more terms and restrictions apply. Program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Here'th my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover's accepted at the places I love to shop. Getteth with the times.
With the times? You're playing the lute.
Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
I've never had any complaints about my performance in the bedroom. But after turning 40, I noticed my libido just wasn't what it used to be. That's when I reached out to Revive Health. Their team knew exactly what I needed, which is why today, my wife and I are both more satisfied than ever.
If you're ready to book your free T-check, text BOOST to 65555 or visit ReviveMensHealth.com to schedule your appointment. Message and data rates may apply. Message frequency varies. Text help for help. Text stop to cancel. See privacy policy at ReviveMensHealth.com/privacy policy. For info on how opt-in info will be used and terms and conditions at ReviveMensHealth.com/terms of use for terms of short code service.
The perfect time to get a saltwater hot spring spa is here. During Olympic Hot Tub Splash into Spring event, save up to $1,500 and enjoy 5 years interest-free financing. Ends April 13th. OlympicHotTub.com. Better you, better life.
Tune in to The Money Professor with Chris Longworth.
Having some certainty about your plan is definitely going to give you all the advantages.
Chris has the heart of an educator.
If you really want to do this correctly, then you get to enjoy every day of retirement like it's a Saturday. And if you don't, it's a Monday for the rest of your life.
Tune in to The Money Professor with Chris Longworth, Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM.
Paid political announcement.
We live here in Washington. I travel all over the state for work.
Affordable short-term rentals help us stay together and make Hazel feel at home.
Now Olympia is considering a huge tax increase on short-term rentals,
pricing us and other families out, since more than half of short-term rentals here are used by Washingtonians.
Costs on everything are going up.
Please tell legislators not to make our trips more expensive too.
Paid for by Airbnb helps our state thrive. Host PAC.
KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and MyNorthwest.com.
Good morning. It's 6:30. I'm Charlie Harger. We're following developments in a federal immigration raid that happened here in Western Washington. Dozens of people were arrested, and KIRO Newsradio's Luke Ducey is here with the latest. Luke?
Yeah, Charlie, this happened Wednesday morning. 37 people were taken into custody at Mount Baker Roofing in Bellingham. Employees told the Bellingham Herald about 50 ICE agents rushed into the building without warning and began separating workers. Another employee said the agents were wearing masks and went around with photos and lists of people they were looking for, then started loading people onto buses. In a statement, Immigration and Customs Enforcement said their raid was part of an investigation into worksite violations and or the exploitation of workers. The owner of Mount Baker Roofing also released a statement saying many of those workers had been with the company for years, some for even decades. They're hardworking, tax-paying members of the community. But there's also this other part of the story, Charlie. You know, the Trump administration has said their policy is to round up criminals who are here illegally in the United States. As for this particular raid, ICE told the Seattle Times the people they arrested allegedly misrepresented their immigration status and submitted fraudulent documents, which are alleged crimes. This is a developing story. We're on top of it all throughout the morning.
Okay, Luke, and this is the first major raid we've seen since President Trump took office, right?
There have been others, smaller, in farm communities, and we'll touch on those throughout the morning as well. However, yeah, this size with 50 agents wearing masks who apparently, according to other employees, would not identify themselves, just had badges and masks. Yeah, this is the big one that's happened, biggest one, I should say, that's happened here in Western Washington.
Okay, keep us up to date, Luke. It's 6:32. We're learning new details about the types of sensitive data leaked during a ransomware attack at Highline Public Schools. KIRO 7 TV's Elle Thomas reports this happened last September.
It was a month after the initial attack when the school finally admitted it was ransomware. Well, now they've finished their review of what's exposed, and it is extensive. Names, addresses, social security numbers, financial account information, health info, even passport details. The list goes on.
The district says it's offering free credit monitoring and identity protection services to people affected. One teen is dead. 2 others are in critical condition after an incident in Skyway yesterday afternoon. Crews from several fire departments responded to a call yesterday on Martin Luther King Jr. Way South. They found 3 young people unresponsive at the Creston Point apartment complex. One was dead at the scene. The other 2 rushed to the hospital. Detectives from King County's Major Crimes Unit now investigating. So far, no word on what led up to this. It's now 6:33. Let's head over to the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk, and Chris Sullivan is watching the roads.
And I'm looking for something on southbound I-5, trying to get down to Marine View Drive, coming out of Marysville into Everett. All I could see is maybe something in the northbound direction that's giving a little bit of visual, but it's pretty heavy from the lumber mill on down, and we're up to about 25 minutes now from Arlington into Everett. A 10-minute delay. I'm hoping this doesn't turn into what we saw yesterday, but I haven't found anything in that southbound direction that would cause this, but just be prepared. Coming out of 529, you're going to hit the brakes pretty hard. After that, you've got about a 45-minute trip from Everett to Seattle or Everett to Bellevue. Northbound I-5 struggling up the hill towards Highway 18, and then about a 45-minute trip from Federal Way to Seattle. Valley Freeway looking relatively normal, not quite 45 minutes to Puyallup to Renton, but we're getting close, and a little over 20 minutes now from Renton into Bellevue. The lake bridges are fine. This report brought to you by Seattle Sports. Search Seattle Sports on YouTube, click subscribe, and get fresh video content daily.
Clouds and sprinkles clear out, giving way for plenty of sunshine and highs in the upper 50s today. Tomorrow and Saturday, warmer highs in the 60s, maybe even low 70s. Clouds return Sunday with rain possible by the evening. Right now in Seattle, it's cloudy and 43 at 6:34. The opening bell brought to you by Legacy Group Capital Family of Funds, and we are looking at Wall Street right now, where the Dow Jones Industrial Average has dropped more than 1,000 points. We have the S&P 500 off 178. That's 3%. NASDAQ is down 4%. That's 727-point drop. Dow Jones, like I said, is down 2.5%. Washington companies and shoppers may soon feel the effects of President Trump's latest tariffs. The new reciprocal tariffs tax will tax foreign imports based on what those countries charge the U.S. That includes 34% on Chinese goods, 20% on items from Europe. Seattle Times reports trade experts say it's going to raise prices for Washington consumers. One home builder tells the Times higher lumber costs could add up to $15,000 to the price of a house. Farmers and exporters also bracing for more losses.
I'm Michael Wallace. Many world leaders have condemned Trump's tariffs and vowed to retaliate. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
Decisions we take in coming days and weeks will be guided only by our national interest.
The president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, says the tariffs are a major blow to the world economy.
Europe has everything it needs to make it through the storm. We are in this together. If you take on one of us, you take on all of us.
Michael Wallace, CBS News.
With new auto tariffs going into effect, how soon will we see that translate into higher prices for vehicles?
The costs are only starting to impact car companies. They'll be closely watching what their competitors to do and what price increases consumers will accept. Hyundai North America President Randy Parker says they haven't increased prices yet.
We haven't made any firm decisions yet, and we continue to evaluate all scenarios in the marketplace.
Hyundai dealers say they have been warned that the company is reevaluating its pricing strategy. Jeff Gilbert, CBS News, Detroit.
While President Trump says this will improve the U.S. economy in the long term, Dean Baker, a senior economist at the Center for Economic and Policy Research, says
a lot of the parts, a lot of the materials to producing a car in the United States are imported. So the immediate effect of imposing big taxes on imports is to raise the cost of producing cars in the United States. Now, you could say, okay, well, all those parts should be produced in the United States. That will take years and years, and even then, we'll probably still be paying higher prices.
Other financial stories we're following this morning. Amazon has put in a last-minute bid to acquire all of TikTok. The popular video app is facing a deadline this month to separate from its Chinese owner or face a ban in the United States. New York Times reports various parties who have been involved in the talks do not appear to be taking Amazon's bid seriously. No comment from Amazon or TikTok. Now, a word for KIRO 7 TV. KIRO 7 News. Watch KIRO 7 News at 4, 5, and 6 only on KIRO 7 TV.
Bringing you Seattle's morning news since 1974. This is KIRO Newsradio.
First responders have been combing the woods around Arlington looking for a missing man. 21-year-old Jonathan Hong is autistic. His sister tells KIRO 7 TV he went out the back door Sunday evening with just slip-on shoes, khaki pants, a T-shirt, and an iPad.
He is so kind and genuine and honest, and just of all of the people to just be disappeared, he's the last person to deserve that.
We have his picture on mynorthwest.com. If you see him, you're asked to call 911. Local families in need are left wondering after federal layoffs hit the Head Start program. KIRO 7 TV's Brandon Thompson has more.
Kiana's son, speech delayed and struggled with comprehension before Head Start.
He started this year at a 47%. Since he went to, since relocated, he's now at an 87%.
Head Start also helps that family become stable through case management.
We're going to streamline HHS. The 200 terminations reported by Senator Patty Murray this week, some of the 20,000 Secretary Kennedy says is to return the HHS, quote, to its original commitment to public health, end quote.
Amtrak is bringing in train cars from Chicago to get more Cascade service running again in the Northwest. The move comes after 26 older cars were suddenly pulled from service because of corrosion. That left Amtrak Cascades with just one working train set. But Washington State transportation officials say 2 Seattle to Vancouver, BC trains are back on track as of Tuesday. More service between Seattle, Portland, and Vancouver is expected by the end of the week. The Washington State Standard reports for now, the trains will run with fewer seats, in some cases less than half the normal number of coach seats. Nearly 1 million people rode at Amtrak Cascades last year. The long-distance Coast Starlight route has not been affected. 6:40 now. Sully, what's coming up in traffic?
Well, we do have a stall on southbound I-5 getting into the Everett area, so we'll break it down for you next.
This is Seattle's Morning News.
The opening bell is brought to you by Legacy Group Capital's Northwest Fund.
For decades, KIRO Newsradio has been your go-to source for reliable news.
Traffic got worse in Seattle last year.
Seattle drivers squandered over $1,100 in lost time and productivity just sitting in traffic.
We're here to help guide you through the complexities of today's world, offering insights that allow you to see the bigger picture.
I want to dig into some of the numbers to just show you how much our transportation needs are being ignored and underfunded.
Trust KIRO Newsradio to keep you informed and connected.
At Uline, the prevailing opinion is, if you don't live it, you don't believe it. The people at Uline believe in hard work, and they live it by being there 24/7 to answer your call, having 41,000 items in stock, and offering same-day shipping from 12 locations across North America. Business owners, sellers, buyers, shippers, and packers believe it. Uline is the hard-working, dependable source for your shipping and industrial supplies. Visit uline.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is for you too. Stubborn fat is really hard to get rid of, and then there's all those gimmicky lasers, fat freezing methods, and prescriptions. Imagine a simple solution that takes just one day and provides immediate noticeable results. Introducing ProSculpt. ProSculpt uses air-assisted technology that's safe and gentle yet powerful, delivering instant fat-reducing and skin-tightening results. Performed by board-certified plastic surgeons while fully awake, ProSculpt contours your body with minimal downtime. It's designed to target those problem areas: waistline, neck, face, arms, thighs. ProSculpt gently removes unwanted fat and tightens loose skin with FDA-cleared plasma technology, all in a simple, guaranteed one-day procedure. ProSculpt is one and done. Schedule your free consultation at prosculpt.com for $250 off. For powerful permanent fat removal and skin tightening that works for ladies and you men, it's prosculpt.com.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
6:43, we check the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk now with Chris Sullivan.
And we do have a stalled box truck blocking the right lane on southbound I-5 as you work your way towards the Marine View Drive area in North Everett. And we're backed up all the way to 528. This looks like a repeat of yesterday. We're up over 30 minutes now from Arlington into Everett. That's about a 15-minute delay and growing. Once you get through that, it's going to be a pretty decent drive till you get to south of Linwood. On 405, we had a crash right at the Canyon Park on-ramp. And for a while, the fire trucks showed up and blocked the right lane. And that's why we are backed up all the way to the Linwood split. The cars are now over on the right shoulder with the state patrol. But 50 minutes now from Everett to Bellevue. You compare that to the 40 from Everett to Seattle. And you can tell you've got a 10-minute delay there. Northbound 405 starting to bog down a little bit through those S-curves. 25 minutes on the drive up to Bellevue. Behind that, though, a pretty decent drive. I mean, under 25 minutes out of Auburn and under 50 all the way from Puyallup. 45 to 50 minutes now from Federal Way to Seattle, depending on how you hit the volume at the north end. Definitely starting to see a little bit more slowing and congestion right there at the West Seattle Bridge. Olympia to Tacoma's chugging along nice and easy, 35 minutes there. Most of Pierce County is okay. This report brought to you by me, KIRO News Radio Real-Time Traffic. I'm Chris Sullivan.
Just a few early sprinkles today. We dry out and warm up into the upper 50s. High pressure brings sunshine. 60s tomorrow and near 70 for some by Saturday, especially in the South Sound. Clouds increase Sunday with showers likely by later in the day or the evening. Right now in Seattle, it's partly cloudy and 43 at 6:44. Let's head over to the news desk with KIRO News Radio's Katrina Gashard.
Good morning, Charlie. Senators Patty Murray released a new report detailing how President Trump and Elon Musk's mass firings at the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs is harming services here in Washington. Our state alone has around 232,000 veterans enrolled in the VA healthcare system, and veterans and military spouses make up 30% of the workforce. Murray said the firings would reverse the progress to expand benefits to veterans and lower the veteran employment rate. There's a new scam going on in Pierce County. The Pierce County Sheriff's Office says if you get a phone call from someone saying you can pay your loved one's bond through an app, or if you get a text message asking for money, Deputy Carly Capetto says,
don't do it. This is the latest and greatest scam where they're taking advantage of your money and your situation.
And if you get a text, delete it. Do not respond.
Okay, thanks, Katrina. Sully, what's coming up in your choke point?
All right, we're going to take a look at the Real ID Act and whether or not you'll be able to get an enhanced driver's license before the May 7th deadline.
Okay, 6:46 on Seattle's Morning News.
When the heat's in 11,
cool AC would be heaven.
DayandNight.net.
Beat the rush.
Act now before summer.
Because that heat's a real bummer.
DayandNight.net. This is the time to plan ahead so you stay cool this summer. Hi, I'm Bruce with Day and Night Plumbing and Heating. Call us about installing a high-efficiency cooling system or servicing your existing one so you're cool when you need it.
Now save up to $4,600 on qualifying cooling equipment.
DayandNight.net.
If you're wearing glasses or contacts, but you need reading glasses or bifocals now, you need to join Drs. Kopstein and King for the K2 Vision RLE live webinar today at noon to learn about refractive lens exchange from K2 Vision RLE. This free webinar is a perfect opportunity to meet the doctors and have them answer all your questions about K2 Vision RLE. Questions like, what is K2 Vision RLE? How long is the procedure and recovery time? Why can't you develop a cataract after having RLE? These questions and more will be covered today at noon during the K2 Vision RLE free live webinar. K2 Vision surgeons have performed over 150,000 procedures. They know when RLE is right for you. K2 Vision RLE. No glasses, no contacts, no readers. Plus, no more cataracts. Don't miss this free live webinar today at noon. Register at K2VisionRLE.com. That's K2VisionRLE.com.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Linwood Event Center. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Linwood Event Center. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Linwood Event Center. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Linwood Event Center. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Linwood Event Center. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Linwood Event Center. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Linwood Event Center. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Seattle's Morning News with Charlie Harder. Now, Choke Points with Chris Sullivan, presented by Carter Subaru.
At 6:48, your May flight may be in jeopardy if you don't have the proper ID to get on the plane. The Real ID Act takes effect in about a month. Are you ready? Sully's here with some tips if you're waiting until the last minute.
May 7th, that's the deadline for having identification that's recognized by the federal government. Without it, you won't be able to get on a plane or visit many federal buildings like courthouses or military bases. A Washington driver's license isn't acceptable because our state doesn't require proof of citizenship or other information. However, our state's enhanced driver's license is acceptable. I had to wait about 2 weeks to get an appointment to get mine, but that was in January. Appointments are now running about 2 months out at many popular locations, which might leave you out of luck.
It depends on the office location. We'd suggest looking at our appointments to see if there are any available in the area. I know at least with the Seattle area, appointments may be hard to come by.
The Department of Licensing's Thomas Charlson says you can still walk into any location and wait, but that will likely take a while.
If you're not seeing an appointment and you kind of waited to the last minute, you can also still walk into one of our offices. I would suggest there to also plan ahead. We do have estimated wait times on our website that give you an idea of like how long it's going to be to get into the office.
The best advice is to be standing outside the office as soon as it opens. Getting your name on that walk-in list early will likely save you several hours. Only 26% of Washington drivers have an enhanced driver's license, but Charleston says that number's been going up.
In January, it's more than 36,000 people try to upgrade, and then in February it was about more than 32,000 people trying to upgrade to enhanced driver's license. So we are seeing an increase.
Now, there's no need to rush out and get an enhanced license if you don't have a flight in May, maybe, or, of course, if you have some other form of acceptable federal ID.
You don't have to have an enhanced driver's license if you don't want one. You can still get a U.S. passport, U.S. military ID, tribal ID, permanent resident card. All of those options work.
You can find all the information about the Real ID Act and what documents you will need to take to the DOL to get that enhanced driver's license at mynorthwest.com. Now, there is some wiggle room here. Of course, this has been postponed for the last decade as the states and the people have tried to figure this thing out. This was actually passed in 2005, coming out of the terrorist attacks of 9/11. But the TSA's guidance still says that you can get through security even if you don't have the proper ID. There's extra screening that you can go through. So there's a little confusion out there. The DOL is saying you won't be able to get on a plane. TSA says, yeah, maybe you can if you go through extra screening. And also they're saying that they might not go with full enforcement. They may phase it in over the next couple of years. We're waiting for an official statement on that from TSA. But as far as the DOL is concerned and as far as the feds are concerned overall, the Real ID deadline is May 7th.
And part of the enhanced driver's license is it helps people know your citizenship status.
That is correct.
Right?
Yeah, it proves that you are a citizen of this country and whatnot. As I said, our Washington driver's license does not meet that guideline.
So presumably, with the Trump administration, citizenship is one of the big things they're following. So I'm doubtful that they will just say we'll punt this for another couple of years.
No, but then you have to imagine going into the airport, say 30% of the people aren't aware of this, have never even heard of this thing, and they're turning people away or they're doing extra screening. What that would look like on May 7th without there being, I mean, we haven't gotten any guidelines of how this is actually going to happen in real world. So, well, yeah, May 7th is going to be an interesting day to have our good Luke Ducey hanging out at the
for sure.
at the airport
and
to find out what it's looking like.
Very interested to find out. I've got a teenage driver in my house. She does not have an enhanced license. She does have a passport, so I suppose that is what she'd use.
Totally work. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but. Boy, that is going to be a problem for a lot of families.
Yeah, is because, again, this has been going on for 20 years now since this has passed, and they've cried wolf every time they've had a deadline. But this one doesn't appear. This is the closest we've ever gotten to a deadline without it being postponed.
Yeah, I got mine February 28th, 2020, which is right before all those licensing agencies shut down. Yeah.
Well, look at you, Mr. Goody Two-Shoes, and planning ahead. I got mine in January, as I said, not hard to get an appointment. Our own Heather Bosch went a little bit later. She was able to, she did an appointment. I've had people who have walked in and did it okay, as long as they go to a spot that's really not heavily, popular. I mean, I went to Linwood, and that place was a madhouse. I mean, the wait time there in January was like 2 hours for walk-ins, and I can't imagine what it is now.
Well, when you do become enhanced, we have a special handshake.
Of course.
There's a club that we all go to, and our greeting to each other is, "You enhanced, dude?"
I'm not saying that.
You have to. It's part of the rule. I don't make the rules.
I'm natural.
Sully. Yeah.
I'm all natural.
You're enhanced now, buddy. You're also at the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk.
And we are still working with this stalled box truck in the right lane on southbound I-5 approaching Marine View Drive. We're backed up all the way to 528 there in Marysville. 30 minutes from Arlington to Everett. That's a 15-minute delay. Still working with the crash over on the right-hand shoulder on southbound 405 right as you get to the Canyon Park interchange. It's basically right right where the on-ramp comes on to southbound 5. They're over on the right shoulder there. But that's why we're up over 50 minutes from Everett to Bellevue, but only 45 from Everett to Seattle. The Renton S-curve's definitely more active now. We might have a crash by SR 900 there by Sunset, or right on the ramp there, but we're up to 30 minutes from Renton to Bellevue. Behind that on the Valley Freeway, not bad. 45 minutes still to run the length there. Northbound I-5 seeing some brake lights in Nisqually coming out of Lacey, but not overly problematic. 35 minutes there. And then Federal Way to Seattle's running about 50. This report brought to you by Seattle Sports. You can always listen to your local favorite sports content on the FM dial, 97.3 HD2.
Drying out today after maybe a few early sprinkles. Sunshine, highs in the upper 50s tomorrow and Saturday. Nice and warm, mid to upper 60s, even 70 south of Seattle. Rain returns sometime Sunday night. Right now in Seattle, it's 42 and partly cloudy. Coming up, CBS News will have the very latest on the reaction on Wall Street to the tariff announcement from the president yesterday. Looking like it's down more than 1,300 points on the Dow Jones Industrial Average.
KIRO News Radio, your home for G and Ursula, 9 to noon.
Former Seahawk Richard Sherman says his house was robbed at gunpoint recently with his family inside. Thankfully, no one was injured.
Imagine your children being in a situation where armed gunmen come inside of your home. I will never forget, as a 20-something-year-old being robbed at gunpoint. I can only imagine what it would be like being a kid.
Streaming live on your smart speaker. KIRO FM and HD1, Tacoma, Seattle.
Your new beginning starts now. D.R. Horton has new construction homes available throughout the greater Seattle area. With spacious floor plans, flexible living spaces, and home technology packages, you can enjoy more cozy moments and sweet memories in your beautiful new home. With new home communities opening throughout the Seattle area, D.R. Horton has the ideal home for you. Visit drhorton.com to learn more. D.R. Horton, America's builder, an equal housing opportunity builder.
Hi, this is Keith Dashafi, owner of Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington. Are you ready to enhance your home with stunning, energy-efficient windows and doors? At Pella, we offer top-quality products with innovative designs and exceptional craftsmanship. And right now, we're offering an amazing deal. Enjoy 12 months with no interest and no payments, or get 40% off qualifying installs. My team is dedicated to helping you every step of the way. Visit PellaPNW.com to schedule your free appointment today. That's PellaPNW.com.
Save on a 2-night getaway to beautiful Victoria, BC with the FRS Clipper Spring Sale. Travel car-free on the Clipper Fast Ferry and stay at a charming downtown hotel. From $252 per person, double occupancy. Save during Clipper Spring Sale at FRSClipper.com.
Need a new roof now? With State Roofing and Exteriors, you can get started with 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for up to 24 months. That's right. Protect your home now and pay later. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today.
Listen up, fellow Gen Xers. Elizabeth Banks here. The recommended age for pneumococcal pneumonia vaccination has been lowered to 50 and older, even if you're healthy. It's up to us to lead the way. We've done this before. Music videos, fanny packs, even the World Wide Web. Let's do it again and get vaccinated, because we're at over 6 times greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Gen X, this is our shot. Visit VaxAssist.com and schedule a vaccine today. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Go from daydreamer to industry leader with Amazon Business. From office supplies to IT essentials, Amazon Business provides tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Learn how to bring your visions to life at AmazonBusiness.com.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This message comes from Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort. Journey through the heart of Europe on an elegant Viking longship with thoughtful service, destination-focused dining, and cultural enrichment on board and on shore. With small ships that bring travelers closer to the destination, there's more time to explore. And every Viking voyage is all-inclusive, with no children and no casinos. Discover more at Viking.com.
Are you working in the refrigeration industry? Are you staying up on current regulations? Well, Local 32 can help advance your career. That's right. Learn more at ualocal32.com. Again, that's ualocal32.com.
Your best source for local news. KIRO News Radio. KIRO FM and HD1. Tacoma, Seattle. Northwest News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. President Trump's new tariffs are spooking the markets. A half an hour into the trading day, the Dow is cratering. It's down 1387. Nasdaq's off 813 or 4.5%. The S&P down 202%. 202. U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick tells CBS Mornings.
Changes in the stock market, while they're initial, long-term, you've got to assume, and medium-term, and employment-based, you're going to see America thrive.
Bottom line, as Adam Hirsch sees it at the Economic Policy Institute.
Consumers are going to have little choice except to face higher prices that these grossly overinflated tariffs are going to impose on them. There's not really any way around it.
Tariffs on cars and trucks kicked in today. Randy Parker, president of Hyundai North America, says they're still figuring out pricing.
We haven't made any firm decisions yet, and we continue to evaluate all scenarios in the marketplace.
Violent weather tears through the South and Midwest. At least 3 deaths are blamed on storms and tornadoes. Correspondent Omar Villafranca is in Lake City, Arkansas.
The violent storm turned homes and businesses into rubble, its residents overnight combing through the destruction left behind. The Craighead County Sheriff's Department says at least 15 people were injured. Several homes were flattened and cars tossed and flipped over, eventually landing on piles of debris.
The National Weather Service says severe thunderstorms blowing eastward could bring the risk of potentially deadly flash flooding over the next few days. As for hurricanes on the horizon,
Colorado State University scientists believe the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season will have above normal activity. 17 named storms, which include tropical storms and hurricanes, says researcher Phil Klotzbach.
Of those 17, 9 becoming hurricanes, and of those 9, 4 becoming major Category 3, 4, 5 hurricanes.
But he says it won't be as busy as last year, which saw 5 major hurricanes. Hurricane season begins June 1st. Matt Piper, CBS News.
Officials in Costa Rica have just confirmed results of a new toxicology report that finds the 14-year-old son of former Yankees player Brett Gardner died of extraordinarily high levels of carbon monoxide in a hotel room in Costa Rica. Researchers at Northwestern University have developed the world's smallest pacemaker. CBS News Chicago's Audrina Sinclair.
Scientists say it can be used to help newborn babies with congenital heart defects or serve as a safer option for adults.
Dow now down 1384. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
It's 7:03. We head over to the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk with Sully.
And it's deja vu all over again for people coming down out of Marysville. We have a stalled box truck. This one's closer to Marine View Drive. It's blocking the right lane on South Mountain I-5, and you're backed up well before the Tulalip Outlet Mall. 35 minutes now from Arlington into Everett. That's plus 20. So yesterday looked looking a lot like today. So it's not an easy drive for you guys. Nice long freeway speed drive until you get down to Linwood. And then we're still dealing with the extra brake lights on southbound 405 because of a crash over on the right shoulder near 527 at Canyon Park. We have about a 55-minute trip from Everett to Bellevue and about 42 from Everett to Seattle. So I-5, a much better drive today. Federal Way to Seattle running under 50 minutes, but not by much, but that's still about 5 or 6 minutes faster than you might have expected. Valley Freeway still under 50 from Puyallup up to Renton to Bellevue, not quite a half an hour. And the Lake Bridges are still doing really well. Olympia to Tacoma has no issues. This report brought to you by Beacon Plumbing. For all your heating, electrical, septic, mechanical needs, stop freaking and call Beacon.
KIRO News Radio 97.3 FM. Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO News Radio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning at 7:04. I'm Charlie Harger. It is the largest federal immigration raid in Western Washington so far. ICE agents arrested 37 workers at a business in Bellingham just yesterday. KIRO News Radio's Luke Ducey is following the story. Luke?
Charlie, this happened at the Mount Baker Roofing Company in Bellingham. Employees told the Bellingham Herald about 50 ICE agents rushed into the building with photos and lists of people and began loading workers onto buses. Just weeks ago, President Trump's border czar Tom Homan said we would start seeing raids like this. And I'm having trouble playing that sound for you, but he said basically that if they cannot find illegal immigrants who are considered criminals at their homes, they would be targeting businesses. And it seems that that's exactly what they are doing, following up on those promises. Homan also said, though, that, again, they would be targeting criminals who are here in the States illegally. ICE told the Seattle Times about this raid. The 37 people they arrested allegedly misrepresented their immigration status and submitted fraudulent documents to their employer. Well, that employer, the owner of Mount Baker Roofing, released a statement saying many of the workers arrested had been with the company for years, some even for decades. He said they're hardworking, tax-paying members of the community. Last week, Charlie, ICE agents arrested several farm workers in Ferndale, so really nearby Bellingham. But yesterday morning's raid, again, the largest we've seen here in Western Washington so far.
A lot of aspects to this, Luke. Thank you. It's 7:06. Washington companies and shoppers may soon feel the effects of President Trump's latest tariffs. The new reciprocal tariffs will tax foreign imports based on what those countries charge the U.S. That includes 34% on Chinese goods, 20% on items from Europe. Seattle Times reports trade experts say it's going to raise prices for Washington consumers. One home builder says higher lumber costs could add $15,000 to the price of a house. Farmers and exporters also bracing for more losses. Washington exports are down a third from 2018 levels. 7:06.
Seattle's morning news on KIRO News Radio. Here's Charlie Harger.
Well, happy Thursday, April 3rd. Mariners squeezed out a win last night. It really was tense at the end there, Sully. Bases loaded.
Yeah, Munoz walked two. It was...
a win's a win.
Tight. Yeah.
A win's
we'll
a win.
It.
Okay.
He was a little loose with his slider last night. But he got it done.
M's have the day off today. Sully is here. Our producer this morning, Jonah Oakleaf. Morning news editor Katrina Gishard is keeping us informed. Luke Ducey is our producer. This hour, Seattle's morning news, sponsored by American Crawl Space and Pest Control. Coming up this hour, we'll speak live with News Nation correspondent Tom Dempsey as the Justice Department prepares to appear before a judge for a contempt hearing over the deportation of Venezuelans. He'll break that down. Also, Kevin Brassler from checkbook.org swings by the show to talk about the security steps you need to take if you were to ever lose your phone. 7:07 now. We're learning more about a break-in at a professional athlete's home. This was in Woodway, near Edmonds in Snohomish County. KIRO 7 TV's Eric Thomas has details.
That is the home of Seattle native and LA Dodgers pitcher Blake Snell, which was burglarized. This reportedly happened on March 26th as police tell suspects broke a window to get in, and thankfully no one was home at the time. But right now, Edmonds police are working with Snell and other law enforcement agencies to help find those suspects. Police have not released any photos or surveillance footage. Now, Snell grew up in Western Washington and went to high school in Shoreline.
This comes in the wake of intruders breaking into former Seahawk Richard Sherman's home and holding his family at gunpoint. 7:08. One juvenile is dead. Two are in critical condition after being found unresponsive at a Skyway apartment complex. Skyway Fire says they responded to the incident around 12:45 yesterday afternoon. Jasper Ackerman tells KIRO 7 TV he saw the scene while touring the apartment complex.
My heart, my emotions, my feelings, my empathy, everything goes out to them. I hope, they hear better news. It is unfortunate that one of them didn't make it.
Detectives are still investigating. The teen accused of killing a man during a drug deal gone bad was arraigned yesterday at the Regional Justice Center in Kent. KIRO News Radio's James Lynch has the story.
18-year-old Zaire Orr is charged with murder in the first degree for fatally shooting 19-year-old McKinley Williams during a small marijuana sale February 4th. Prosecutors allege Orr and 2 other teens planned to rob Williams. When Williams tried to drive away, he was shot once in the head. Here's Casey McNerney with the King County Prosecutor's Office.
We asked the court to hold him on $3 million, and the court upheld that bail amount.
Orr is due back in court later this month. James Lynch, KIRO News Radio.
The U.S. House is expected to vote soon on the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, or SAVE Act. Like last month's executive order from President Trump, it requires you to prove you are a U.S. citizen before you can legally vote. Former Washington Secretary of State Kim Wyman, a Republican, tells KIRO News Radio's G and Ursula this will likely end up in court.
There's no database of American citizens that election officials could use to compare their voter registration data to.
Supporters of the SAVE Act and the president's executive order say they're necessary to restore public confidence in elections. However, voting in federal elections by non-citizens is already against the law. Some of Washington's largest corporations are warning Democrats in Olympia to drop the wealth and payroll taxes, warning it will harm the state's economy.
Washington state cannot sustain continued tax and spending increases and simultaneously maintain our economic resilience and competitiveness. That's according to a letter sent to state Democrats and obtained by MyNorthwest.com. Dozens of large businesses urged Governor Ferguson and Democratic and Republican leadership to review and revise the budget proposals to drop controversial taxes. The signatories include Amazon, Microsoft, the Seattle Mariners, Alaska Airlines, Costco, and Puget Sound Energy. The letter was sent after Governor Ferguson rejected 2 Democratic budgets that included a wealth tax. Frank Lindsay, KIRO News Radio.
Efforts to shield Washington's children from social media's grip have come up short. Senate Bill 5708 aimed to curb addictive feeds and notifications for those under 18. It was supported by Attorney General Nick Brown. Washington State Standard says it cleared the Senate with votes from both parties, but the House declined to hold a hearing on it. Senator Noel Frame admitted the bill needed refinement, but was frustrated by the lack of discussion. House committee says the bill raised constitutional concerns, especially around privacy. 7-Eleven, more gas tax hikes could be coming to Washington, but lawmakers still have a lot to work out. House just passed a $15 billion transportation budget. Senate approved a bigger plan last weekend with different tax ideas. According to the Washington State Standard, the Senate wants a 6-cent gas tax hike this summer. The House wants 9 cents, plus a highway use fee and higher vehicle sales tax. Both plans would bring in billions, but still won't fund everything. The House delays over $1 billion in projects to later years. Senate adds furlough days for transportation workers. And when we talk about the highway use fee, that's different than the RUC, right?
That
the
is
road
correct.
Usage charge?
Yeah, it would basically charge you based on your a fee based on the miles per gallon that your car is rated for when it left the factory. It wouldn't be the miles traveled. However, from what I've heard, this is the first baby step toward the RUC, because then now the DOL's actually getting involved in tracking that kind of thing, because it would be something they would do there when you redo your tabs. By the way, speaking of gas prices, my local gas station has gone up 30 cents in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And checking the national average, Washington is running just about $1 more expensive than the national average.
So we could be talking 9 cents on top of that.
Yeah, and most of the increase that we're seeing now is related to the Climate Commitment Act and adding those extra fees there, which the latest analysis shows have had no impact on the climate, and they've gotten nothing out of what we've been charged so far.
Washington voters had their say, and, well, that's what they wanted. Yeah. So there we go. 7:13 now. We'll head over to State Roofing and Exteriors Weather Desk. That's where we find KIRO 7 meteorologist Nick Allard. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning. We have a mix this morning of some beautiful sunshine and lots of sunrise shots, and also some low clouds and some fog. All of that will lift, and we will see sun this afternoon with warmer temperatures right around seasonal levels. in the upper 50s. We're starting off this morning, say, in the 30s and 40s, and then we'll get to about 57, 58 degrees later today. Tomorrow, I expect you're just going to see some very isolated and patchy fog and then beautiful sunshine, and I do expect you'll see at least mid-60s, and I think you're going to go upper 60s and maybe lower 70s for Saturday, but you should definitely see more cloud cover. So I think it's just going to be a cloudier day on Saturday, but a nice day. And then for Sunday, we'll look for some light rain in the morning with most of your rain coming late in the afternoon. So that's going to be the wetter time period. Into Monday, we'll cool off to be back into the mid to upper 50s and lower 60s. So yes, you have sun coming today, even more tomorrow. Not as much Saturday, but at least we're still going to be warm. And then we cool it off starting on Sunday and Monday.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Right now in Seattle, we have some sun breaks. It's 44 at 7:14. Over to the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk now. Here's Sully.
And we have cleared the stalled box truck on southbound I-5 right before Marine View Drive in Everett. We still have about a 20-minute delay from Arlington into Everett at 35 minutes. Then you get a pretty decent freeway speed drive to get down to Linwood. Then it's about an hour overall, I should say, from Everett to Bellevue, and about 50 minutes from Everett to Seattle. 405's bogged down a little bit earlier because of a crash near Canyon Park or right there at the off-ramp. So things are a little bit heavier on 405, but that's not unusual. Federal Way to Seattle is also about an hour now, with about 35 of those minutes from South Center, getting closer to a half an hour from Renton to Bellevue, and probably 50 minutes now from Puyallup to Renton. The Lake Bridges are still fine. Tiger Mountain starting to slow down as well, eastbound 18. This report brought to you by the FRS Clipper. Save on a fun Victoria, BC getaway during the Clippers spring sale. Clipper Fast Ferry plus 2 nights hotel, only $252 per person at FRSClipper.com.
Let's head over to the news desk now with KIRO News Radio's Katrina Gashard.
We have a better idea of the types of sensitive data leaked during a ransomware attack on Highland Public Schools. The attack happened back on September 7th and closed schools for a few days. The school district says the information accessed included names, addresses, social security numbers, driver license numbers, and more. The district says they are offering free credit monitoring and identity protection services to people affected. Bremerton police arrest a man with an axe. Officers got a call Monday afternoon from a property owner saying the man had trespassed, set a bag on fire at his door, then threatened him with an axe. Police found the suspect later throwing pepper balls at him. He was booked on multiple charges.
Okay, looking at Wall Street right now, Dow Jones Industrial Average down 3.6%. That's more than 1,500 points. NASDAQ off by 4.7%, and the S&P 500 is down 3.8%. That's 220 points. It's 7:16.
Seattle's Morning News on KIRO News Radio. And here's your host, Charlie Harger.
Justice Department lawyers argue today why the Trump administration didn't violate a court order halting the deportation of Venezuelans under the Alien Enemies Act. The case centers on whether 2 deportation flights on March 15th violated a judge's ruling. Joining us now is Tom Dempsey from News Nation. Tom, give us the scene as we get ready for this hearing.
Yeah, that's right. Good morning from D.C. I'm actually at the Capitol as we speak right now. This court hearing going to be very closely watched later today. And for the listeners out there, this one today all revolves around that question of whether or not the Trump administration violated that court order to halt the deportations of those alleged Venezuelan gang members. I believe there are about just over 130 of them who were deported under that order. Literally during this hearing, it's happening in a few hours here. It's going to come down minute by minute of when these planes took off, headed for El Salvador, when the judge issued his verbal order saying that the deportations should stop, and when he issued his written order saying that the deportation should stop. So that's literally what this case is coming down to, is literally minute by minute where these flights were headed and, when the order was issued. So it's going to be really interesting to watch all this. The Trump administration has obviously been very much pushing back against this judge. His name's Judge James Boasberg, a federal judge who was appointed by the former President Barack Obama, also approved by the Senate 96-0 back in 2011, I believe. But there's been a lot of pushback against him for allegedly blocking the Trump agenda. So I'm sure we'll see a little bit more pushback from Republicans today. But this is going to be an interesting case to watch for. Like I said, literally going down to the minute of when these deportation flights were taking off and when they were in the air and when this order came down.
And some of the people who were deported, their families are saying this was mistaken identity. They had nothing to do with the gang. And I suppose that's why some wanted a court hearing before this just automatically took place. What are you hearing about that pushback from people who are saying that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a very good point because there's some big questions going around. As I mentioned, 130 alleged gang members who were deported from Venezuela. And there's some big questions going around about whether or not all of those people were actually gang members. And so that's the ACLU has been leading the legal challenge against the Trump administration, and they're the ones who are going to be in court today. And they've talked about the significance of this case, about rushed deportations and not giving some of these people due process, their right to a court hearing about their deportation. So again, some very big questions tied to all this. That's why I think it's such an intriguing case. It's being heard at 3 p.m. Eastern time here in D.C. And again, a lot of people are going to be watching it.
We're talking with Tom Dempsey from News Nation. What would a consequence be? Any idea if the administration is found in contempt?
That's a very important question. So, yeah, they would probably be found in contempt. And as far as what happens after that, I am not going to pretend like I am a legal expert here, but I mean, obviously would not be good for the Trump administration. And I think it's also important to note, too, that order halting deportations of the Alien Enemies Act, that's still under a temporary restraining order until at least April 12th. So there's not going to be any deportations tied to that until at least April 12th. But I think, at least politically speaking or whatnot, this would obviously slow down some of this deportation effort if this does go against the Trump administration.
Okay, Tom Dempsey, thank you for that. And Tom, I know you are at the nation's capital. If I could just throw you a curveball here, are you hearing anything from lawmakers there about tariffs? What are they saying on Capitol Hill?
Oh, that's a huge story right now, is these tariffs that are going into place. Obviously we're seeing different sort of reactions from Democrats as we are with Republicans. Republicans, applauding some of this, about how, changes are needed to the American economy and how, implementing all these sorts of tariffs will ultimately help, they believe, will ultimately help American companies and help those companies to grow even more and encourage Americans to buy local, or if you will, buy from American companies. But Democrats are really raising concerns, about reports that are out there about how people could end up paying more for certain items. One tariff that's being talked about a lot is this car tariff. If you think about it, if you want to buy a new Toyota or, Hyundai from South Korea, I believe it's South Korea Hyundai.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I think that the report I heard some Democrats talking about is that Americans might end up paying, $12,500 more as a result of these car tariffs going into place. So, this is impacting a lot of different items out there. And, whether that's ultimately going to be a good thing or bad thing, all these tariffs, I don't think really anyone really knows at this point. It's a lot of uncertainty right now, and we're hearing some concerns about prices going up for Americans.
See, this is the beauty of live radio, Tom, is I can throw you a curveball, and you're able to answer my question and not completely freak out. I appreciate that about you, and it's always great talking to you. And these are both important stories. So thanks for your time today. We will be talking to you again soon, Tom.
Thank you.
Tom Dempsey from News Nation here on Seattle's Morning News. It's 7:22, and we head over to the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk. Sully's watching the roads.
And we are looking at kind of an average to maybe a little faster than normal Thursday out there. I think the lack of weather has a little something to do with that. But we're still struggling up in the north end. 15-minute delays on that that Arlington to Everett drive because of an earlier stall we had near Marine View Drive. But that's a pickup of about 5 minutes. I'm hoping that'll thin out here over the next little bit. And then you've got about an hour from Everett to Bellevue. All of that is away from Linwood before clearing up south of 522. For Everett to Seattle, a little faster, but not by much. 55 minutes for the drive there. Renton to Bellevue, those S-curves have really started to fill in. We've got about a 35-minute trip there, so a little bit in the red. Behind that, 50 minutes from Puyallup to Renton, a little bit over 25 out of the Auburn area. And
it's a reminder that, yes, it doesn't get there very often, and only when it really has to.
$15 in the northbound 167 hot lane. That'll only save you 4 minutes. So again, not really a good return for investment. I guess it's a good thing in some people's minds that the camera enforcement is going in on 167. A lot of people have been asking me about that. You asked me
Oh,
about that.
yeah.
He asked me about that. Yeah, that's all part of the expansion that'll happen late this year, earlier this year, or next year. The rest of the map, about an hour and 10 from Federal Way to Seattle. Olympia to Tacoma, 35 minutes, so not bad. The Lake Bridges are still doing well. This report brought to you by Seattle Sports. Download the Seattle Sports app and stay in the know with the latest news, scores, and opinions about your favorite local teams.
You know, the new show co-host is going to have so many questions. Why does he play that sound effect? That's so strange.
Yes.
And you'll have to explain it to them. I can't say it's a her, so to them.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that I play something every day when it's unusual if it gets there. Irony.
I love the whispers. That makes it sound more dramatic.
Well, that's because I still don't know who our co-host is.
Yeah. You'll have to tune in Monday to find out, Sully. Do not spoil it.
I guess I better not call in sick on Monday.
We're looking for highs in the upper 50s today, low 60s tomorrow, maybe even pushing 70 on Saturday. Coming up, more from CBS on the reaction on Wall Street to President Trump's tariffs. 7:24 now on Seattle's Morning News.
This hour is brought to you by Beacon Plumbing.
Hey, it's Charlie Harger from Seattle's Morning News. For the past few months, it's been me behind the mic, Sully keeping you moving, Katrina bringing you headlines. But starting Monday, someone very special is joining our team on Seattle's Morning News. She has been waking up Seattle listeners for decades. And now she's becoming part of our KIRO family. Who is it? You'll find out Monday morning. Seattle's Morning News, weekday mornings from 6 to 9 on KIRO Newsradio.
When we reach our golden years, it's natural to want to stay in our homes. We've worked hard for them, but as our minds and bodies age, the home can become an unsafe place where loneliness thrives. Amanda here for Care Partners Senior Living. Our communities offer safe living spaces and managed common areas with medical professionals on site and ready to help. We assist you with your mobility when needed, allowing you to socialize or participate in activities whenever you like. Care Partners Senior Living provides both privacy and socialization at your desired pace. You aren't living alone in our communities because help is always nearby. And believe it or not, community living can be more cost-effective than in-home care. With locations throughout Washington and Arizona, you'll find a Care Partners community near you. Care, it's in our name and what we do. Learn more at carepartnersliving.com.
With 30 communities, including Covington, Bremerton, Snohomish, and the grand opening of North Creek Bothell, there's quality senior care at an affordable price near you. Visit carepartnersliving.com.
Why is K2 Vision RLE a permanent solution to glasses, contacts, and readers? How is it that you'll never develop a cataract after K2 Vision RLE? And how is RLE different from LASIK?
Hey, it's Doctors King and Kopstein from K2 Vision RLE. We'll answer those questions and others when you join us for our free live webinar today at noon. Andy, what are some of the other questions you hear?
Well, how long is the procedure and recovery? Or who's a good candidate for RLE?
And we'll also answer, how much does RLE cost? Is there financing available? Does insurance pay for RLE?
Find out how K2 Vision RLE is the permanent solution to glasses, contacts, and readers.
And cataracts too.
Right, no more cataracts.
K2 Vision's free live webinar today at noon. Space will be limited, so register now at k2visionrle.com.
Join us at our free live webinar today at noon. Sign up at k2visionrle.com.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
Are you really that different than the rest of us?
We are. As a fiduciary, we always focus on what's best for our clients.
What services do you offer besides investing?
We have a team of specialists in financial planning, estate planning, and more.
Your clients rely on you for all that?
Yes, we ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Okay, but you still sell commission-based products, right?
No, because we believe that's a conflict of interest. We prioritize service over sales goals.
So, then how do your fees work?
We have a simple and transparent fee that's a percentage of our clients' portfolios. So we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, we're more different than I thought.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
A good retirement requires more than just having a retirement nest egg and a good investment strategy.
Sadly, most people don't have that kind of a plan. And that's why retirement turns into a nightmare for most retirees. Nightmares of one falling ill and ending up in a nursing home, becoming a burden on loved ones, and losing money to uncovered care costs. All preventable with the right retirement plan. Hi, this is elder law attorney Rajiv Nagaich and founder of LifePoint Law. Let me invite you to resolve to make 2025 the year you create a real plan for retirement. I've helped thousands of people in the Seattle area, and I know I can help you too. Come to one of my retirement planning seminars this month, and I will show you how.
Attend the free seminar in Federal Way on April 5th, Olympia on April 8th, or Bellevue on April 10th. Register at lifepointlaw.com. That's lifepointlaw.com. Or call 253-838-3454.
When the heat's an 11,
cool AC would be heaven.
dayandnight.net.
Beat the rush.
Act now before summer,
Because that heat's a real bummer.
dayandnight.net.
Even though our Northwest summers can be spectacular, there's always a long, hot stretch that makes everyone say, man, AC sure would be nice. Well, except for that one annoying friend who won't stop talking about how great his AC is. Hi, I'm Bruce with Day and Night Plumbing and Heating. You can stay comfortably cool when those hot temps arrive. This is the time to plan ahead and call us about installing a high-efficiency AC or heat pump. Or if you have an existing system, we'll come and service it. Make sure it's running efficiently and ready to cool when you need it.
Before the summer heat wave.
Keep your house cool and save.
dayandnight.net. Save up to $4,600 on qualifying cooling equipment, plus no payments or interest for a year OAC. Don't sweat it out this summer. Stay cool with Day and Night.
dayandnight.net.
Cars for Kids, the easy way to donate your car. Donate today and your car can be picked up tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.com or 1-877-CARS4KIDS.
Hey, how's your money situation? Are you ready for retirement? Well, if you want to know what the pros are doing to make wealth multiply and retire like royalty, then you need to listen to this show, Sound Path Through Retirement, with Ben Koval and Matt Leibarger. Get your money right and tune in every weekend, Saturdays at 10 a.m. and noon on KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM.
KIRO Newsradio 97.3 FM Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning. It's 7:31. ICE agents have arrested 37 immigrants right here in Western Washington. It is the largest immigration raid in our state so far. KIRO News Radio's Luke Ducey is here with the latest. Luke?
Yeah, Charlie, it happened in Bellingham just yesterday morning. Employees at Mount Baker Roofing told the Bellingham Herald about 50 ICE agents rushed into the building with photos and lists of people and began loading people onto buses. You know, just weeks ago, President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, said we would start seeing raids just like this in Western Washington and across the U.S.
If we can't get them out of their home, we'll get them at the workplace. We're going to increase worksite enforcement tenfold. We are not walking away. We're coming. We're not going to be stopped. Nothing will stop us from doing this job.
Homan has already said they would be targeting criminals who are here illegally in the States. ICE told the Seattle Times that 37 people they arrested allegedly misrepresented their immigration status and submitted fraudulent documents to their employer. That employer, the owner of Mount Baker Roofing, released a statement of his own yesterday saying, many of the workers arrested had been with the company for years, some for decades even, and they are hardworking, tax-paying members of the community. He also said, beyond the personal impact, raids like this will harm small businesses, especially in smaller cities and towns near and around Bellingham. Less labor, he says, means prices will start to go up. Last week, ICE agents arrested several farm workers in nearby Ferndale, but yesterday morning's raid, Charlie, is the largest that we've seen so far.
Okay, we will continue to follow this. The other big story we're following this morning is on Wall Street, down 1,500 points on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. This as investors react to President Trump's new announcement of tariffs. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is defending the tariffs.
Lutnick told CBS Mornings, America has taken care of the world. Now, he says, it's time to take care of American manufacturing and workers and balance the trade deficit. He acknowledges the tariffs will drive some prices up.
Foreign goods
may become a little more expensive, but domestic goods do not.
As for the slumping stock market, as investors fear a global trade war,
Sure, there's going to be some short-term movement, but this is a reordering of global trade.
Michael Wallace, CBS News.
CBS News correspondent Ramy Inocencio is in London and says the UK avoided the highest of the tariff rates.
There is perhaps some relief here from political and business leaders because the U.S.'s new tariff on specifically UK exports is just 10%. And I say just because we now know that it could have been far, far worse. About 70 other countries have been hit with higher rates.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer met with business leaders this morning, warned these tariffs will have an economic impact globally. 7:34 now. Let's head over to the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk with Sully.
And we are seeing about an average Thursday out there. Drive times are about what they should be. I'm going to start out of the north end where we're still kind of seeing the brake lights through the Tulalip area. This is all the leftovers, if you can believe it, from that stall we had near Marine View Drive on southbound I-5, which is long gone. So this is just the last little bit of that slowing, getting all the way up to the north. So it's still 30 minutes from Arlington to Everett, which is about 12 to 13 minutes slower than you might expect. Then you get through that relatively normally, and then you hit the Linwood area, and what you get from there on down is what you expect. It's an hour drive from Everett to Seattle or Bellevue, with 45 minutes of that just from Linwood. The other spot that's seeing the brake lights going a little bit more intensely, that is, Renton to Bellevue at about 40 minutes now. The brake lights begin at the Valley Freeway and run all the way up to 44th. After that, it's not too bad. That's starting to slow down westbound 169, the Maple Valley Highway, or northbound, depending on how you refer to it, and northbound 167 definitely tying into the 405 corridor. 30 minutes out of Auburn, 50 out of Puyallup, and a lot of heavy brake lights down the South Hill at this point. Also seeing some slowing westbound 512 approaching I-5. Olympia to Tacoma is only 35 minutes, and Federal Way to Seattle's running right on an hour. This report brought to you by D.R. Horton. With 20 Puget Sound communities, D.R. Horton has the right home for you. Learn more at drhorton.com. D.R. Horton, America's builder, an equal housing opportunity builder.
My drive in this morning at Dark 30 was kind of rainy. That is clearing out. We are expecting to have early clouds, but even those will clear out for afternoon sun. High near 60 today, even warmer tomorrow and Saturday. We could be talking upper 60s, maybe even 70 in the South Sound on Saturday. Rain returns sometime late Sunday into early next week. So let's get out and enjoy it while we can. Right now, it's 43 at 7:35.
Seattle's Morning News.
Watch the show live on mynorthwest.com.
Now here's Charlie Harger.
New this morning, the state of Washington is refusing to follow President Trump's changes to the rules regarding transgender students and high school sports. With the story, here's KIRO Newsradio's Frank Lenzi.
In a statement to the Seattle Times, the Washington Interscholastic Activities Association says the Attorney General's Office, the Office for Civil Rights, and the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction say the proposed amendments would violate state law. Their proposed changes include limiting participation in girls' sports to biological females. Another would be to create 3 divisions, one for boys, one for girls, and one open to all students. On February 5th, President Trump signed an executive order dubbed Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports, and school districts that don't follow it risk losing federal funding. Frank Lenzi, KIRO News Radio.
The assistant chief at the Lakewood Police Department has been placed on paid administrative leave pending an internal investigation. Lakewood PD tells KIRO 7 that John Unfred is on leave for an investigation into an alleged violation of department policy. We don't know who's conducting the investigation, but once it's done, he'll return to the job. He was placed on paid leave March 19th. He's been with Lakewood PD for 20 years and as the assistant chief for nearly 10. A 21-year-old man with autism has been missing since Sunday night. KIRO 7 TV's Eric Thomas says searchers are combing the woods near Arlington, and they are increasingly worried.
The family says they last saw Jonathan Hoang on Sunday night when he was going to bed. They believe he left the house through the back door with his mom's slip-on shoes and iPad in hand, and we're told first responders across the region are now searching for him. Jonathan was last seen wearing khaki pants and a T-shirt, and first responders now also worried because of the cold temperatures. So if you see him, contact 911.
It's 7:37. Major crimes detectives are investigating after 3 teens were found unresponsive in Skyway. It happened just before 1 p.m. yesterday at the Creston Point Apartments. Fire crews say one of the teens died at the scene. The others have been taken to the hospital in critical condition. We haven't really gotten many other details aside from that. The King County Sheriff's Office says the case is under investigation. Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg was on the hot seat in Capitol Hill yesterday. Members of the Senate Commerce Committee questioned him about the company's recent manufacturing and safety issues. Boeing has come under fire after several recent incidents, including that door plug blowout on a 737 MAX plane last year. The company has also been scrutinized for allegedly retaliating against whistleblowers who raised safety concerns. CBS's Chris Van Cleve says Ortberg talked about changes in production procedures.
There's also an opportunity for him to just answer questions from the senators about not only the safety culture, but the sort of the bigger picture of Boeing and how they are trying to bring about cultural change. And he says that comes really from the top, from him and his executives setting a tone. He chose, instead of living in Washington, D.C., to live in Seattle, Washington, where the planes are built, to be closer to the line.
Washington State boasts 3 finalists for the prestigious James Beard Culinary Awards. They include Atoma for Best New Restaurant, Archipelago for Outstanding Hospitality. Both of those restaurants are in Seattle. Jay Blackington of Whom on Orcas Island is nominated for Best Chef in the category of Northwest and Pacific Cuisine. He tells the Seattle Times he's overwhelmed, honored, and humbled. Sully, I went to one of the James Beard last year when they had the nominations. I said, hey, this place is in Tacoma. I'm going to try to go to that. It was fabulous. It was really great. I'm forgetting the name of the restaurant.
Is there hair in the food?
No. These are actually fancy restaurants where they
well, when you said
don't
James Beard, I was confused.
Sully.
That one I do know because our good friend Rachel Bell has been nominated for a James Beard Award for her great work in her cookbook and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was just joking on that one.
I hope you would. I suspect you're the kind of guy, though. You go to these greasy spoon diners, and you're like, okay, well, there's a hair, no biggie.
Yeah, I mean, I love dive bars, and, I go to the B after dark.
Okay, I'm sure you do. It is 7:40. What's coming up? Hold on. Is it a hairy commute?
No, not bad, actually. It's clean shaven today, and we're looking at not too bad, even away from Linwood.
We really need to get a co-host in here who can keep the dad jokes on track. It's Seattle's Morning News, 740.
We're here with our friend Steve Teitler of Best Mortgage, the reverse mortgage expert. Steve, mortgage rates have been dropping this year. How could that help seniors struggling to stay in their homes?
Lower mortgage rates means seniors can now get more money from their equity with a reverse mortgage. You can pay off your existing mortgage, have extra money to help with today's high cost of living, or believe it or not, you can even buy a home with a reverse mortgage. There are many uses, and best of all, you have no mortgage payments the rest of your life.
But as you always say, a reverse mortgage is not for everyone.
That's right. Avoid the high-pressure sales pitch from those out-of-state call centers. I give you a consultation, not a sales pitch. I'll tell you if a reverse mortgage is right for you, and I always tell you if it's not.
Honest advice you can trust from the reverse mortgage experts. Best Mortgage, the VA loan experts and debt consolidation specialists too. 425-649-6000. Best Mortgage, 425-649-6000.
Did you hear? A recent stash of $10 gold Liberty coins from the 1800s has been found. These gorgeous gold coins are as bright and shiny as the day they were struck in the late 1800s. And less than 200 of these gold coins are available. Coin experts are calling this gold find an incredible opportunity. Call 1-800-917-4635 and you are guaranteed a $10 gold Liberty coin minted by the U.S. Mint in the 1800s. But with extremely limited availability, you must call now. These gold Liberty coins from the 1800s are still in uncirculated condition. That is history you can hold in your hand. To learn more, call 1-800-917-4635. Call now and you'll receive a free American Coin Collector's Bonus Package, a $40 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-917-4635 now to secure your $10 Gold Liberty coins dated from the 1800s before they sell out. That's 1-800-917-4635.
Hey, Brock Ewart here with my buddy Dave Taylor from First Mark Insurance. You know, Dave, I love sport. You love sport. And I love sitting with coaches and hearing their game plan each and every week. What are the keys to a First Mark Insurance game plan?
It's a great question, Brock. I think there's really three keys to a great game plan with us. Number one is we want to make sure that our clients have the correct coverage for their unique specific needs. So that's number one. Do you have the right coverage? Number two, once we have the right coverage, are we getting that coverage at the most competitive price possible? And then last and not least would be, once we have the right coverage at the most competitive price, are we providing world-class service to those customers so that when they need it, they have someone there that's got their back?
Those are the three keys to a First Mark Challenge victory. And man, am I so glad Molly and I took the challenge. We are one of so many through a decade plus of being a First Mark Challenge victory. You can too. Just simply go to firstmarkinsurance.com, firstmarkinsurance.com.
Back to the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk now with Sully.
And we are definitely seeing improvement up in the north end where we had a big long backup on southbound I-5 getting into Marysville. We had a crash at the Marine View Drive area. And now the backup is just right there centered at about 116th. They're getting into the Tulalip Outlet Mall area. But after that, it's not too bad. And we're back down to 25 minutes from Arlington to Everett, which is about a 10-minute delay. In that same general area, westbound 2 and 204 down out of Lake Stevens are a little heavy getting to the trestle, but that's nothing out of the ordinary as we approach 8 o'clock. Then a pretty clean drive until you get down to the Linwood area, and it's still very heavy away from Linwood on both 5 and 405. We might have a new crash on southbound 5 right around 212th and Mount Lake Terrace. I'll be checking into that, but we are definitely looking at hour-plus drives from Everett to Seattle or Everett to Bellevue, and just for a net, $15 in the southbound express toll lanes out of Linwood, but you will save 20 minutes or more. Northbound 405, Renton to Bellevue, over 40 minutes now. We're starting to really bog down there, and behind that, 30 out of Auburn and 50 from Puyallup. Some brake lights up the hill from Fife, and then a normal hour and 10-minute trip from Federal Way into the Seattle area. The lake bridges are okay, though I-90 is definitely starting to see a little bit more action across the lake. This report brought to you by Home Comfort Alliance. Upgrade now with incredible savings on ultra-efficient heat pumps. Get up to $6,000 in rebates, plus save 10% on heat pumps through April. Home Comfort Alliance, or go to homecomfortalliance.com.
Looking for a high of 57 today. Afternoon sun, 65 for your high on Friday. 68, maybe even 70 on Saturday. Right now it's 43 at 7:45. And we head over to the news desk with KIRO Newsradio morning editor Katrina Gashard.
Seattle's Pritchard Beach is closed. Seattle Park says it's due to a sewage overflow. People and dogs should stay out of the water. The beach park will be closed through Tuesday, April 8th. We'll keep you posted on when it reopens. The Mariners finally earned a win in their first game day of the season. They won 3-2 against the Detroit Tigers. Manager Dan Wilson said it was a good bit of momentum ahead of the off day today.
It is a big win for us, and they came in here and swung the bat the first couple games, but for us to take that, that's a big W.
Next up, the M's will face the Giants. First pitch is tomorrow at 1:35.
Okay, let's keep it on track here, fellas. Another W would be lovely.
Yeah,
okay.
would.
Coming up on the show, Kevin Brassler from checkbook.org will be on the show to talk about security steps you need to take if you were to ever lose your phone. That's on the way on Seattle's Morning News.
Save on a 2-night getaway to beautiful Victoria, BC with the FRS Clipper Spring Sale. Travel car-free on the Clipper Fast Ferry and stay at a charming downtown hotel. From $252 per person, double occupancy. Save during Clipper's Spring Sale at FRSClipper.com.
Are you putting off your new kitchen plans? Why wait? Hi, Chad Cicchini, owner of Heritage Homecraft. Call today and ask about our trade-in sale. Years of experience, thousands of happy customers. Heritage Homecraft, 425-485-1600 or heritagehomecraft.com.
My wife and I have been married for over 15 years, and I've never had any complaints about my performance in the bedroom. But after I turned 40, things started feeling different. I was gaining weight, losing muscle, and I just wasn't interested in sex anymore. My wife told me her friend's husband went through the same thing, and it turns out he had low testosterone. So we booked a free T-check at Revive Health, and that's when I learned that my testosterone levels were low too. We worked with a provider to create a custom treatment plan, and today, my wife and I are having more fun than we did on our honeymoon. My only regret is not reaching out sooner.
If you're ready to book your free T-check, visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com or call 206-529-1111. Again, that's 206-529-1111.
Are you a small business owner who needs immediate cash flow? At Swish Funding, we have flexible funding options from $25,000 to $2 million. For the best rates and terms for your business, just one application to Swish Funding gives you access to our entire network of funders, with cash in your account in as little as 24 hours. To qualify, you must be in business for at least 1 year with monthly revenue of $50,000. Apply at swishradio.com and use code GROW. Swishradio.com, code GROW.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I need new rotors.
When you buy 2 Duralast rotors during our spring sale, you get Duralast brake pads free.
Free?
With the rotors.
Well, that's great. What if I need extra stopping power?
You can upgrade to Duralast Gold pads for just $10.
So Duralast pads are free?
Yep.
And an upgrade is just $10?
That's right. Part of the spring sale at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This is Seattle's Morning News on KIRO Newsradio, and here's your host, Charlie Harger.
I don't even like thinking about this one. Losing your phone. It can feel like you're losing your life. Contacts, photos, apps, all gone. Kevin Brassler from checkbook.org is here with some must-know steps to take if the unthinkable happens, losing your phone, plus maybe some proactive tips we can take to protect ourselves. So, if you do lose your phone, what is like the very first thing I need to do if I realize it's lost?
Well, try to locate it. So the first thing to do is before you all lose your phone, turn on the Find My Device option with your phone. It's like the Find My option. And then also know how to find your phone from someone else's device. So, know your login credentials for Apple or Samsung or whatever it is so that you can ping your device and maybe track it down, maybe even using like a friend's phone or even like a really kind stranger's phone if you don't know where yours is. I did this recently. I was coming out of playing basketball and I was changing shirts or something. And I put my phone on top of my car and then drove away. And all of a sudden I didn't know where my phone was. Well, luckily in our family, we share locations with one another and my daughter could help me, go find it in the middle of McKinley Street, basically, and I was able to get it back.
Okay. What if it gets stolen, though? Because they're not going to be as generous in terms of giving it back.
Right. If it's stolen or if it's just lost for good, you can't locate it, it's gone. The first thing is, if you've turned on the Find My Device feature, you can log into the website or use somebody else's phone to do so, and you can wipe your phone. And that's important to do. It may not wipe if it's not powered on, if someone's powered it off, but at least the next time it does get powered on, it hits a cell signal or Wi-Fi signal, your phone will remotely wipe. It'll get reset to its factory settings. So you at least have some protections there in terms of your data and maybe what they're able to do with the phone. And then the next step is contact your carrier. Make sure that they know, okay, look, this phone's gone. I need you to disconnect it from service and do what you can also to protect me.
These phones are so dang expensive. A lot of times they're winding up out of the country fairly quickly as well, aren't they?
Yeah, out of the country. And also there's companies out there that basically you can trade your phones in to there's the machine and it spits out cash. And that's a big problem also is that, they're supposed to be doing things like taking a picture of the person or scanning an ID or things like that. But they are essentially kind of fencing operations for criminals if the technology isn't working correctly. And it is happening. I think a bigger problem with stolen phones is, they're probably not after your data unless you're some CIA operative or something like that, right? What they're looking for is to resell it quickly. But I do think it's worth, if it's been stolen, is to report to police. They're probably not going to, send out their, CSI team and rope off an area unless someone was injured while stealing the phone. But at least then you have a record. I've reported this to police. If you've bought like a theft protection plan or something like that, you might need evidence that you've made this report in order for it to kick in.
Okay, you are with checkbook.org. This is a consumer advocacy group as well. You're telling me there's no problem with the Find My or whatever Samsung offers, say, in terms of our privacy.
I think that there's always the possibility that companies are using that information or that people are stealing that information, hacking in and finding things out about you in terms of your whereabouts that you may not want shared. On the other hand, these days, if you want to be able to find your phone and track it down, you do actually have to log into these services. Especially, I think it's safe to do so in terms of wiping it. The other thing you want to do is you do want to be, constantly backing up your phone. You want to have backups turned on. That way, if you've lost your phone, you don't lose everything in it. You don't lose the pictures you've recently taken, things like that. And it also makes it a lot easier when you get a new replacement phone to set it up, because you can just set it up from Apple's cloud or whatever. And basically, as I've had to do several times, the phone I get within, it takes an hour or so, is set up and it's exactly as what I had before. It removes a lot of the pain of having to have this new phone set up from scratch.
Kevin Brassler, checkbook.org. He has free access to articles on this. If you go to checkbook.org/KIROFM/free, you will never remember that. So you can also check this out at mynorthwest.com. We'll have a link for you there. You'll have free access until May 1st. Kevin, thanks.
Thank you.
It's 7:53, and we go to the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk now with Sully.
And the traffic gods giveth, and they taketh away. Just as we were clearing things up finally on southbound I-5 getting through Marysville, we added another crash right there at the main Marysville exit, right there at 528, and then right before you would get off at 529 there on the bridge over the inlet there. So we're looking at back up to probably 30 minutes from Arlington to Everett and growing. So
didn't they get hammered yesterday too?
Yeah, yesterday it was a brutal drive. So today again, this one looks like the person it looks like they got some front end damage. Looks like they might have rear-ended somebody. Yeah. But then I don't see another car. So I'm not exactly sure what this person may have hit, or if the other person took off, or they're a little bit further down the road. Either way, the left lane is blocked. State Patrol hasn't gotten there yet. So this backup is now back up to 88th and growing. So sorry guys, second crash or second issue of the morning on that drive, and back-to-back mornings where it being pretty brutal. And then we've got hour drives after that from Everett to Seattle or Bellevue, which isn't too bad. Northbound 167, though, really bogging down. Over 35 minutes now from Auburn to Renton, and most of that is from 212th and Kent trying to get up to the 405 interchange. So not exactly great news there. And we're looking at Renton to Bellevue at about 45, so starting to really struggle. Federal Way to Seattle's not too bad on the front end of that drive, but still 40 minutes from South Center puts us at about an hour and 10. Lake Bridges are hanging in there, though eastbound 90 is slow trying to tie into 405. This traffic report comes from Washington 811. If you're digging in your yard, the law requires you to call 811 to avoid dangerous and costly damages. Call 811 or submit online, digsafewa.com.
And the forecast looks like we will have afternoon sun, a high of 57 today, low 60s tomorrow, upper 60s for Seattle on Saturday with 70s in the south end. So nice stretch of weather on tap for us. Right now in Seattle, it is mostly cloudy and 43.
KIRO Newsradio, your home for G and Ursula, 9 to noon.
This is the first time that median earnings in Seattle have hit six figures.
San Francisco being number one and Seattle being number two, what do those two places have in common with each other? Homelessness crisis. Isn't it something that the places where you're middle of the pack making $100,000 a year, the homeless is more in those places than anywhere in the country? But G is drugs.
Streaming live on your smart speaker, KIRO FM and HD1, Tacoma, Seattle.
A political announcement.
We live here in Washington. I travel all over the state for work.
Affordable short-term rentals help us stay together and make Hazel feel at home.
Now Olympia is considering a huge tax increase on short-term rentals,
pricing us and other families out, since more than half of short-term rentals here are used by Washingtonians.
Costs on everything are going up.
Please tell legislators not to make our trips more expensive too.
Paid for by Airbnb helps our state thrive. Host PAC.
Are you looking at diversification and stability with your investment portfolio, especially with the volatility right now in the stock market? Hi, I'm Scott Riereka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital based in Bellevue. We've been running local real estate investment funds for over 18 years. We've had zero investor losses and have averaged double-digit returns since inception. Maybe it's time to take a little risk off the table given market conditions. For stability, there's no better option than Legacy Group's Northwest Fund, a fixed return of 9%. Legacy's Northwest Fund also accepts IRA accounts as well. Find out why over 1,000 local investors have invested over $250 million in our Legacy family of funds. Get in touch with us today. Legacy's Northwest Fund returning 9% has limited opening for new investors right now.
Call 425-635-4700 or visit legacyg.com. That's legacyg.com. This is not investment advice. Legacy investments available to accredited investors only. Details at legacg.com.
I saw her texting coming up to a stop sign, and so I saw the accident coming, and she T-boned us.
In the blink of an eye, Crystal's life changed when she suffered a severe spinal injury.
The pain was something I had never experienced before in my neck. I got massage therapy. I saw a chiropractor. I was prescribed muscle relaxers so I could sleep. I got depressed. Nothing was relieving the pain.
Drugs, sleepless nights, and depression. Sound familiar? I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist. At Sound Pain Solutions, our treatments include high-dose laser combined with spinal decompression and other comprehensive therapies to rehabilitate damaged discs. We use treatments that are non-surgical, FDA-cleared, drug and pain-free.
I was able to get off my pain medicines, and I was able to sleep through the night, and that was what I was desperate for.
To learn if you're a candidate for our treatment, call us. Sound Pain Solutions, 855-996-0025, or click soundpainsolutions.com.
1-877 Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. You'll get a maximum tax deduction and a vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Charlie Harger here. When your hot turns to cold, you better think fast. Fast water heater. Call 1-800-THINK-FAST. That's 1-800-THINK-FAST or fastwaterheater.com.
You better think fast. Fast water heater.
Your best source for local news. KIRO Newsradio. KIRO FM and HD1. Tacoma, Seattle. Northwest News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
I'm Steve Kathan. 401ks are taking a beating the day after President Trump announced his sweeping tariff plan. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down more than 1,500 points. The S&P has lost 4%. NASDAQ losses topping 5%. Business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
Economists believe that these tariffs, along with everything else that's already been announced, will slow down economic growth and cause prices to rise, a condition that's called stagflation, a stagnating economy amid higher prices. That kind of environment is a very difficult one for companies to make money, which is why the investment community is selling stocks this morning.
Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick defended the tariffs on CBS Mornings.
For the first time in your lives, you're going to actually think about the Americans who make the products, the Americans who produce these products and work in these factories. It's time for us to take care of them instead of taking care of the world.
Secretary of State Rubio told NATO leaders President Trump supports the alliance and the U.S. is staying in NATO. Secretary General Mark Rutte echoed the American call for European leaders to spend more on defense.
We know that the United States is a staunch ally in NATO. I had a very good meeting with the President, with President Trump. But that commitment comes with an expectation. And the expectation is that the European allies and Canada need to spend more.
At least 3 deaths are blamed on the violent weather that tore through several states in the nation's midsection. CBS Philadelphia meteorologist Kate Bilo says in some places the worst is yet to come.
Potentially historic flash flooding coming right on the heels of that massive and devastating tornado outbreak. Our flash flood risk, really those same exact areas, Arkansas, portions of Illinois, into Tennessee. We're going to be seeing just a persistent flood of atmospheric moisture moving into this region in the coming days.
Hurricane forecaster Phil Klotzbach at Colorado State University has more about what could be in store for East Coast states later this year.
We are forecasting an above normal Atlantic hurricane season, a total of 17 named storms.
And 9 of those storms, he says, are forecast to reach hurricane strength. A day after his corruption case was tossed out, New York City Mayor Eric Adams revealed he'll run for re-election as an independent, not a Democrat.
I know that the accusations leveled against me may have shaken your confidence in me, and that you may rightly have questions about my conduct. And let me be clear, although the charges against me were false, I trusted people I should not have, and I regret that.
Dow is down 1,500 points. This is CBS News.
Brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You could save big when you bundle your auto, home, motorcycle, RV, or boat. Visit Progressive.com.
8:03, we head over to the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk now with Sully.
And we had just finally about cleared out southbound I-5 when we had another little issue on southbound 5 right at the main Marysville exit. And we're back up to about a 4-mile backup again and a 20-minute delay for our drivers from Arlington to Everett that drive at 35 minutes again. Good news is that over the last 10 minutes, that little issue has moved over to the right shoulder, so no longer blocking a lane, hoping this won't stick around very long. Then you have a nice freeway speed drive, a really good drive until you get down to Linwood, and then you start hitting it again. It's not as bad on I-5 as it is on 405. We've got about an hour and 10-minute trip from Everett to Bellevue and about an hour and 5 from Everett to Seattle, though I-5 is starting to bog down a little bit from 85th across the Ship Canal Bridge now as well. Northbound I-5, brake lights in Federal Way up to about 272nd before thinning out, and then about 35 minutes from South Center, about an hour and 10 the entire way. Federal Way to Seattle, I just gave you. Puyallup to Renton, we're looking at about 55 minutes, 35 of those minutes from the Auburn area, really heavy out of Kent today, and 405, 45 minutes from Renton to Bellevue. The lake bridges are hanging in there, though westbound 90 is bogging down from the middle of the lake through the Mount Baker Tunnel. This report brought to you by Beacon Plumbing. For all your heating, electrical, septic, mechanical needs, stop freaking and call Beacon.
8:04, Seattle's Morning News. Thanks for joining us this Thursday, April 3rd. I'm Charlie Harger, along with Chris Sullivan and Luke Duzey, who joins us in the studio. It's the largest immigration raid in Western Washington so far. ICE agents wearing masks raided a roofing company in Bellingham yesterday and arrested 37 immigrants. Luke is here with the latest. Luke?
Charlie, employees at Mount Baker Roofing in Bellingham told the Bellingham Herald about 50 ICE agents rushed into the building carrying photos and lists of names and immediately started rounding up people and loading them onto buses. Just weeks ago, President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, said we would start seeing raids like this.
If we can't get them out of their home, we'll get them at the workplace. We're going to increase worksite enforcement tenfold. We are not walking away. We're coming. We're not going to be stopped. Nothing will stop us from doing this job.
Homan has also said they would be targeting criminals who are here illegally. Well, ICE told the Seattle Times the 37 people they arrested allegedly misrepresented their immigration status and submitted fraudulent documents to their employer, which are alleged crimes. That employer, the owner of Mount Baker Roofing, released a statement also saying, many of these workers arrested had been with the company for years, some for decades, and they are hardworking, tax-paying members of local churches, schools, and the community. However, beyond that personal impact, he's now warning other businesses and industries across the state, more raids like this, he fears, will start to harm small businesses. Less labor means prices will start to go up for consumers. We've seen smaller raids like this in Eastern Washington, Charlie, and then here in Western Washington, just last week, ICE agents arrested several farm workers in nearby Ferndale as well. I've got a call into Mount Baker Roofing. The workers arrested there made up about half the workforce for that business. They say they open at 7 o'clock, so I made those calls and have been, but the calls are going straight to voicemail, even though they're supposed to be open. So, you can imagine they're dealing with a lot this morning.
Okay, coming up at 8:15, we're going to have a conversation with former State Attorney General Rob McKenna about the due process rights of people who are arrested on immigration charges. That's on the way. And in just the past few minutes, the NASDAQ average on Wall Street has gone down more than 1,000 points. It's down 5.6% right now. S&P 500 is down 4.4%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average, it has lost 1,566 points at last check. That's 3.7%. That brings us to what it might mean here in Washington. We're told that the tariffs could cost Washington businesses and families. Washington relies heavily on trade. 1 in 4 jobs are tied to it. State officials warn this could lead to a trade war. Seattle Times reports supportive Tacoma leaders say prices are already rising, and a home builder tells the Times the tariffs could add up to $15,000 to the cost of new homes. Charges have been filed against a woman accused of kidnapping a girl from the daycare in the Seattle area. You may remember your Amber Alert going off on your phone Friday afternoon. KIRO 7 TV's Elle Thomas has details.
That suspect abandoned the girl in her car and even tried to make a getaway in an Uber. So police say the toddler's family even had a restraining order against the suspect, Kiana Daniels. But according to those docs, a judge lifted it, and Daniels went straight from the hearing to the daycare to take that girl. She made it to Federal Way, where police say she left the child in her car, tried to take a ride share, but a witness recognized her from the Amber Alert and stopped that driver from leaving. Police arrested her a little while later. She is facing kidnapping charges.
Charges have now been filed against a suspect in Sunday morning's double homicide at a Rainier Beach hookah lounge. 25-year-old Leonte Berry faces 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of unlawful possession of a firearm. He's being held on $5 million bail. He'll be arraigned April 16th. Police say he shot and killed 2 people, including a security guard, at the Capri Hookah Lounge along Rainier Avenue. The teen accused of killing another teen during a drug deal gone bad was arraigned Wednesday morning, that's yesterday, at the Regional Justice Center in Kent. 18-year-old Zaire Orr is charged with murder in the first degree for shooting and killing 19-year-old McKinley Williams during a small marijuana sale February 4th. King County prosecutors say Orr planned to rob Williams, eventually shot Williams in the head. Here's Casey McNerthy with the King County Prosecutor's Office.
He pleaded not guilty, remains in custody, and then has a pretrial hearing coming up later on this month.
Bail is set at $3 million. Amazon, Microsoft, and the Mariners are among the big Washington businesses to come out against state wealth and payroll taxes. This week, Governor Bob Ferguson rejected 2 Democratic budgets that included a wealth tax, saying it wasn't prudent to base spending on a novel and what he calls a legally untested tax. A letter to state Democrats signed by those companies and many others say the budget proposals, in their words, would result in the largest tax increases in state history. And they go on to say it would perpetuate a dangerous trend of unsustainable spending growth. Plan to make social media safer for kids has hit a wall in Olympia. The state Senate passed a bill that would have limited late-night alerts and addictive feeds for teens. It had support from Attorney General Nick Brown and Governor Bob Ferguson. Even got 8 Republicans to vote yes, but the bill never got a hearing in the House. Senator Noelle Frame, a Democrat who sponsored the bill, says it was disappointing. She told the Washington State Standard it felt like an abrupt end after supporters had already made compromises. The Children's Alliance helped craft the bill. Their director says tech companies are financially motivated to keep kids hooked. House committee chair says the proposal wasn't ready and raised concerns about privacy and lawsuits. Supporters hope to bring it back next session with more input, maybe fewer legal headaches. Washington state lawmakers are trying to fix a $1 billion shortfall in the transportation budget, but they can't agree on how. The House just passed a $15.2 billion plan. This comes on the heel of a Senate version that is $1 billion bigger, according to the Washington State Standard, and handles fish passage funding differently. It includes furlough days for state workers, which the House plan doesn't. Both sides want to raise the gas tax starting in July. The Senate would hike it 6 cents and adjust for inflation every year. The House wants a 9-cent bump. And the House plan also calls for a new highway fee based on your car's fuel efficiency. This is not, though, Sully, the road usage charge?
No, the road usage charge charges you per mile. What this would do would give you, would tax the more fuel efficient cars just with a flat fee. When you go to get your DOL, they'd be like, oh, Charlie, you have X car. It gets 25 miles to the gallon. That's the lowest threshold. Oh, we're going to charge you a certain amount on that. But that is the first little step towards the road usage charge because this gets the DOL involved in collecting taxes that aren't related to what they generally would do. So this is kind of the camel's nose there. By the way, one thing that you did talk about that we did talk about with Matt during the earlier part of the session, moving fish passage out of the transportation budget into the capital budget will get a little bit more money to the roads and maybe free up the ability there. Problem is, you got to take that money from somewhere. So really, that's just a shell game of where they're going to find that $5 billion from that they're behind in trying to make that fish passage work done, which, as we've talked about, is required by a court order.
Yeah.
So they can't get out of it, right? So, but by moving it, maybe this will free up some funds in Transpo to help them actually take care of the roads, which we know they do a miserable job of paying for.
Okay, this legislative update brought to you by WaFd Bank. Let's get a check on the weather brought to you by State Roofing and Exteriors. Here's KIRO 7's Nick Allard.
Count on seeing a mixture this morning of some low clouds and a little bit of fog and then sunshine. Be a beautiful day today with temps warming to around seasonal levels in the upper 50s. Tomorrow, really just a mainly clear and cool morning. There will probably be some patchy fog. And then we're talking sunshine in mid-60s. Saturday, we see more high clouds. And it will still be warm, but instead of putting 70s, I put 68 because you're going to see a lot of high cloud cover. And then that does lead to some changes for Sunday, which means you might see a little bit of light rain early on Sunday, but better bet later in the day and into Monday where temps fall back into the 50s, and it is a wet start to begin next week.
I'm going to enjoy Saturday, though, pushing 70. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Got the youth baseball game.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. 44 right now in Seattle at 8:13. We head over to the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk with Sully.
And I promise not to show up at your son's game and be that guy in the outfield just yelling at the players for no apparent reason. Promise not to be that guy this weekend.
Move in!
Wow, come on. You took that pitch for strike 3? Come on. You're 11. Figure it out.
Swing at those.
I spent $10,000 on that new torpedo bat. Come on. No, yeah, God. Again, every day it's like going to church here or confession over the way I treated Tommy as a little league coach. Okay, we are still dealing with 20-minute delays on southbound I-5 as you work your way through Marysville. The backup is really right around 116th before petering out. We had another little crash there right near 528. So still 35 minutes, but getting better. Then you have a nice long freeway speed drive, and then away from Linwood, it's about an hour for Everett to Seattle with about 45 to 48 of those minutes from Linwood. Northbound I-5, not bad through the Kent Des Moines Road, but really heavy at the north end. So 40 minutes from South Center puts us right about an hour. We're back under 35 minutes from Auburn to Renton, so pushing back to about average with about a 55-minute trip from Puyallup, and Renton to Bellevue's at 45. Lake bridges are actually doing okay. I mean, you will hit the brakes on westbound 90 right as you get across the lake and into the Mount Baker Tunnel. This report brought to you by Washington 811. If you're digging in your yard, the law requires you to call 811 to avoid dangerous and costly damage to utility lines. Call 811 or submit online at digsafewa.com.
Now let's head over to the news desk with KIRO Newsradio morning editor Katrina Gishard.
The clock is ticking on TikTok's deadline to sell or face a ban in the U.S. Amazon sent a letter to the Trump administration to join the bidding war for the popular app. President Trump said over the weekend there are lots of potential buyers, and he said he'd like to keep the app alive. Tomorrow, Microsoft turns 50 years old. CEO Satya Nadella tells GeekWire,
technologies will come and go, but that idea that this company can stay relevant by producing technology so that more and more people around the world can create more digital technology that's pervasive in our society and both at an individual level and even at an organizational level, that I think is the core.
Microsoft co-founders Bill Gates and Paul Allen created the company back in 1975. Tomorrow, Microsoft will hold a special event on its Redmond campus.
Okay, Katrina, thank you. It's 8:16.
Seattle's morning news on KIRO News Radio. Here's your host, Charlie Harker.
Due process is the legal principle that guarantees fair treatment and a chance to be heard before the government can take away your rights or freedom. It's a cornerstone of our justice system, and we're talking about it today with former Washington State Attorney General Rob McKenna. Rob, let's just start there. How is due process typically handled, let's say, in deportation cases, which are making the news right now?
Well, there are due process rights for individuals who are being detained. This is the central issue in the case involving Judge Boasberg and the Venezuelan gang members who were sent down to El Salvador. It's like, did they require due process if they were a threat to national security? Maybe not, but or maybe not as much due process. But what he was asking is, what process did the government follow to determine who among those people who were on those airplanes that went to El Salvador had been determined to be members of gangs, right? So that was what he was getting at. There was a third airplane that that contained people the government said had received due process. They were not being deported because they were gang members. They were being deported for other reasons, and they were not the people sent to the El Salvadoran prison. But the point here, the larger point here, is that at the border, or if you cross the border illegally, you have less protection than someone does who's a citizen. And even citizens of America have somewhat fewer protections when they're crossing the border than you would normally expect to have under the Fourth Amendment, which protects us from unreasonable searches and seizures. So border officers can inspect without a warrant any person trying to come into the country and their belongings, including their electronic devices like their phones and laptops.
And that is within 100 miles of the border. So you could be deep into Bellingham, Skagit County even.
Yeah, if you cross the border and you know, CBP officers caught up with you and said, hey, we need to talk to you. We need to look at your belongings. We need to have you turn your cell phone on, your laptop on. They can make that demand, and you have to comply even if they don't have a warrant, because you know, blanket authority for warrantless routine searches at a port of entry or within 100 miles, you know, is baked into the law. Now, if it's more invasive, if they want to conduct a body cavity search, for example, or according to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, if they want to conduct a forensic analysis of your computer hard drive, they would have to have what's called reasonable suspicion, not just a hunch. That more invasive search is required.
Getting back to due process, part of the thing here is this is the court's way of making sure that you're not doing something that is flippantly, that consideration has been paid, especially when we're talking about shipping these folks down to the prison in El Salvador. We want to make sure we're sending the right person and that there is a reason for it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, even people who come into this country illegally have some rights. Now, with the Venezuelan gang members, the government's argument is there is a national security issue. Of course, they used the 1798 Act that's designed to address people who are from a country we're at war with. And so that raises the question of, well, we're not in a declared state of war with Venezuela. Can they cite that act for those people? But you know, those are issues that can work their way through the courts. The main takeaway is that, you know, the government has a lot of power to designed to protect our borders, and it means that people who are here illegally do have fewer protections, and that certainly includes gang members. As for people who are not gang members but are claimed to be, they have some right to present their side of the story. But you know, as we're seeing with these student deportations from college campuses, if you're here on a visa, if the State Department decides that you violated the terms of the visa and you shouldn't be here anymore, they can revoke that visa. And once your visa is revoked, then the government has the power to expel you from the country. And that's, of course, happening in several cases right now involving students from universities.
I am a guy, my career is predicated on the First Amendment, and I'm, of course, an American citizen born here. Are my rights different than those of, let's say, this tough student who, on the face of it, simply wrote a pro-Palestinian article in a school newspaper and the administration got upset about it? Well, your rights are different in that you have every right to be in this country. You are a citizen of the United States. That's true for you as someone who's born in the country. It would be true for someone who's a naturalized citizen. Here, we're talking about students who are here as guests of the government, if you will. They're here at the pleasure of the government and the State Department. And they can be kicked out of the country if the State Department decides they shouldn't be here anymore. So, you know, the First Amendment doesn't protect them from their visas being canceled. And that's what's happening with some of these students. That is former State Attorney General Rob McKenna giving us some insight onto how these laws work. It's 8:22. We'll head over to the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk, and Sully is watching the roads.
And we've picked up 15 minutes now. No, we've picked it up. That means it's good.
Oh, okay.
That's a positive, Charlie. We've picked it up. So it's not there anymore.
You are just so positive.
Yeah, I tried it. Well, I have to be. Well, to be honest, the magic is empathy. Because I know our friends who are listening are stuck, and there's not a lot they can do about it. So we either try to make them laugh, or we try to tell them why, to at least give them a little bit of, to help them out a little bit. But no, this is a good thing. We've picked up 15 minutes on southbound I-5 as you go from Arlington down into Everett. That travel time has fallen to 20 minutes. So the delays are almost all gone. I know it's been a rough couple of days for you guys coming down I-5 out of that area, but we're back to normal. So that's good. Once you get through that, it's going to be pretty good till you get down to Linwood. I-5's not too bad through Mountain Lake Terrace and Shoreline, though you do hit it again around 85th down towards the Ship Canal Bridge. But we're back under an hour from Everett to Seattle. So that's a pickup of a couple of minutes. Still sitting at about an hour and 5 from Everett to Bellevue with the that stubborn spot right through Canyon Park and down through Totem Lake. Coming up from the south end, Olympia to Tacoma is not bad. A little braking in South Tacoma, but that's normal this time of day. Only 35 minutes, and Tacoma itself is in good shape. Most of Pierce County is as well. Up the hill to 18 looks good, and then Federal Way to Seattle is about an hour and 5 minutes. 45 of those minutes are from South Center, so those last couple of miles are going to be rough. Our good friend James Lynch, who's been in for Luke the last couple of mornings, he's back onto that West Seattle drive. Sorry, buddy, you're stuck into the normal stuff there, getting over to I-5, but it's not backed up all the way. So as James is heading out now, he should have a relatively normal commute, as the rest of you will as well. About 45 minutes from Renton to Bellevue. Behind that, the Valley Freeway starting to break up a little bit as well. Back under 50 minutes to run the length. Eastbound 90 is slow across the East Channel Bridge over to I-90. That's just volume. Westbound, a little heavy across the lake. Maybe 25 minutes from Bellevue to Seattle on I-90. 520 is under 20 minutes, so that's really good. This traffic report brought to you by Lake Washington Windows and Doors. Through April, Lake Washington Windows is paying for your sales tax plus giving you 18 months to pay for them. For details, visit lakewashingtonwindows.com.
And the forecast looks like we'll have a high of 57 today with sunshine, low 60s tomorrow, upper 60s to maybe even 70 on Saturday. Rain returns later on Sunday. Right now in Seattle, we have partly cloudy skies. It's 43. Coming up, we have the latest on those immigration raids in Bellingham that resulted in the arrest of dozens of people. That's on the way here on Seattle's Morning News.
This hour is brought to you by WaFd Bank.
Sure, your coffee wakes you up. But starting Monday, Seattle's Morning News brings you something even stronger. A brand new co-host joins the team. Who is it? Find out Monday morning on KIRO Newsradio.
Hi, it's John Curley. Longevity Medical Clinic has been helping people live longer, healthier lives for more than 25 years. I've recently talked with Dr. Mixon about his approach to proactively focusing on prevention. Dr. Mixon, I first met you in 2009, and I went in there and I told you I wasn't feeling well, couldn't gain any muscle mass, couldn't sleep well, I was stressed out, and you looked at me and you said, yeah, I know what your problem is.
And all we did was we measured your values and we moved your values back to those of a nice, healthy 25-year-old man.
I have taken your blood work to my doctor, and he was shocked. He couldn't believe the depth in which you study my blood.
We need to draw a distinction between living a long time and getting old. And that's what longevity is all about, is we are here to do the measurements and help you fix those problems.
So get your free health analysis. Go to longevitymedicalclinic.com. That's longevitymedicalclinic.com.
Mike Salk here, and you've probably heard me mention that Crawl Pros has a full-service pest control division called Pest Pros, and they can prevent bug and rodent infestations from reoccurring at your house. You probably also know that it's especially important to keep a close eye on any signs of pest intrusion in your home during the spring. Why? Well, let's start with rodents. They're at the peak of their reproductive season, so if just one makes its way into your house, it could quickly turn into hundreds, and then you've got damage to insulation, wiring, even structural features, not to mention they're disgusting and carry disease. You may also see an increase in bugs, especially ants this time of year, as they're just looking for food. But if you got kids, you know they leave food everywhere, so this can become an even bigger issue. If you have any reason to think you've got a pest problem, you want to take care of it quickly before you have a much larger problem on your hands. So call Pest Pros. They'll come in, do a free corner-to-corner inspection, just like they did at my house, and fix the problem. If you're worried that any type of critter is making a home of your home, Call Pest Pros or visit gopestpros.com.
William is one of millions of Americans who uses GoodRx to save on the cost of their prescriptions.
My oldest daughter, Camilla, 2 days old, she had to have open heart surgery. All of a sudden, she's on 5 different medications. It adds up at the end of the month. Me and the pharmacist got so tight. She said, GoodRx save you a lot of money. Saving that extra $200-300 a month. We're able to do all these extra activities, so it puts less stress on our household, and it puts less stress on our pockets.
Download the free app or visit GoodRx.com and start saving today. GoodRx user compensated for their time. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Paid political announcement.
We live here in Washington. I travel all over the state for work.
Affordable short-term rentals help us stay together and make Hazel feel at home.
Now Olympia is considering a huge tax increase on short-term rentals,
Pricing us and other families out, since more than half of short-term rentals here are used by Washingtonians.
Costs on everything are going up.
Please tell legislators not to make our trips more expensive too.
Paid for by Airbnb helps our state thrive. Host PAC.
A good retirement requires more than just having a retirement nest egg and a good investment strategy. Sadly, most people don't have that kind of a plan. And that's why retirement turns into a nightmare for most retirees. Nightmares of one falling ill and ending up in a nursing home, becoming a burden on loved ones, and losing money to uncovered care costs. All preventable with the right retirement plan. Hi, this is elder law attorney Rajiv Nagaich and founder of LifePoint Law. Let me invite you to resolve to make 2025 the year you create a real plan for retirement. I've helped thousands of people in the Seattle area, and I know I can help you too. Come to one of my retirement planning seminars this month, and I will show you how.
Attend the free seminar in Federal Way on April 5th, Olympia on April 8th, or Bellevue on April 10th. Register at lifepointlaw.com. That's lifepointlaw.com. Or call 253-838-3454.
When the heat's an 11,
cool AC would be heaven.
Dayandnight.net.
Beat the rush.
Act now before summer,
Cause that heat's a real bummer.
Dayandnight.net.
This is the time to plan ahead so you stay cool this summer. Hi, I'm Bruce with Day and Night Plumbing and Heating. Call us about installing a high-efficiency cooling system or servicing your existing one so you're cool when you need it.
Now save $50 off our pre-summer AC tune-up. Dayandnight.net.
Are you putting off your new kitchen plans? Why wait? Hi, Chad Cicchini, owner of Heritage Homecraft. Call today and ask about our trade-in sale. Years of experience, thousands of happy customers. Heritage Homecraft, 425-485-1600 or heritagehomecraft.com.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car can be picked up as soon as the next day. Receive a tax deduction and vacation voucher.
1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
KIRO Newsradio, 97.3 FM, Northwest News. Now, the latest from KIRO Newsradio and mynorthwest.com.
Good morning. It's 8:30. I'm Charlie Harger. The stock market is reeling right now after new tariffs were announced by the Trump administration. CBS Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady says these tariffs could lead to price increases for consumers.
There are specific products that we simply just can't have made in the U.S. And so when you think about a tariff, that's never going to come off if it's not made in the U.S. And this is a long-term thing. You're going to have higher prices on those products.
Right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 1,400 points. That's 3.5%. S&P 500 is down 4%. NASDAQ is down 913 points. That's more than 5%. ICE agents have carried out the largest immigration raid in Western Washington so far. Close to 50 agents raided a roofing company in Bellingham yesterday. And KIRO Newsradio's Luke Ducey is here live with the latest. Luke?
Yeah, Charlie, also part of this story as well, coming on the heels of that news of the Dow and the stock markets, there's a personal impact that we'll get to in this story, but a lot of businesses now worried with more and more raids. If they see them, it's going to start hurting small businesses around the state, especially here in Western Washington, where this took place yesterday. Employees at the Mount Baker Roofing tell the Bellingham Herald about those ICE agents. They were wearing masks, and they rushed into the business and arrested 37 immigrants. Just weeks ago, President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, said that we would be seeing raids just like this.
If we can't get them at their home, we'll get them at the workplace. We're going to increase worksite enforcement tenfold. We are not walking away. We're coming. We're not going to be stopped. Nothing will stop us from doing this job.
ICE told the Seattle Times the 37 people they arrested allegedly misrepresented their immigration status and submitted fraudulent documents to their employer, which are alleged crimes. ICE also said in a statement the raid was part of their investigations into, quote, worksite violations and or exploitation of workers. Now, the owner of Mount Baker Roofing released a statement of his own, saying many of the workers arrested had been with the company for decades, and they were hardworking, tax-paying members of local churches, schools, and communities. So there's that personal impact we were talking about, Charlie. But, these workers also made up about half the workforce for that small business in Bellingham. Last week we saw ICE agents arrested several farm workers in nearby Ferndale. This, though, yesterday was by far the largest raid we've seen so far.
And it just sounds unusual to have agents raiding wearing masks. Maybe you could look into that, because that seems unusual. Maybe that's something they normally do, and if so, we'll of course mention that. But to conduct a raid where 37 people getting arrested, they're obscuring their identity. That seems a little unusual.
And allegedly, some of these workers said that they would ask, "What is your name? What's your your badge number? Those kinds of things," and they were silent.
Okay,
just sat there with their masks.
And that could be perfectly normal. I don't have the information to know one way or the other, so we'll look into it.
You bet.
State of Washington refuses to comply with President Trump's executive order banning transgender athletes from taking part in women's school sports. The Washington Interscholastic Activities Association, WIAA, tells the Seattle Times Trump's order would violate state law. School districts that don't comply with the order risk losing federal funding. 8:34 now on Seattle's Morning News. We head over to the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk with Sully.
And we've buttoned up most of the slowing, in fact, almost all of it, on southbound I-5, working your way through Tulalip and Marysville, back down under 20 minutes to make that drive from Arlington into Everett, which is great. Also, it looks like we did have a bridge lift on the Snohomish River Bridge on 529. That's why it's so slow for those of you heading down using 529 instead of I-5. Pretty good drive the rest of the way around Snohomish County until you get down to right there at the Mill Creek interchange. That's where things bog down, but much, much, much better on I-5 than they are on 405. 405, again, doesn't have the capacity as I-5, and so we're looking at about an hour drive still to make it. Most of that, though, ends at 522 as you work your way out of the Bothell-Woodinville interchange. Coming down I-5 in the direction there through Linwood is not too bad. Mount Lake Terrace, not too bad either. But you hit 85th again and working your way through Ravenna and the U-District. It's going to be heavy, but we're 50 minutes, Everett to Seattle. That's an improvement. The I-5 corridor, Federal Way to Seattle, still up over an hour, but 40 of those minutes are from South Center, now 45. So those last couple of miles are going to be pretty rough. And then Renton to Bellevue is now up to 50 minutes. That's becoming standard, which is just not what it used to be. So just really heavy, but the Valley Freeway is thinned out. We're back down under 30 minutes out of Auburn, and Pierce County is clean. We're looking at traffic coming from 811, from Washington 811. If you're digging in your yard, the law requires you to call 811 to avoid dangerous and costly damage. Call 811 or submit online, digsafewa.com.
We're drying out today after we had some early sprinkles. Sunshine and highs in the upper 50s this afternoon. Tomorrow and Saturday, spring warmth. Mid to upper 60s, even 70s south of Seattle. Rain returns sometime Sunday evening. Right now in Seattle, some sun breaks. As I look across East Lake Avenue right now, shining on the apartments right across from us, it is 43 at 8:36.
Seattle's Morning News with Charlie Harder. Now, Choke Points with Chris Sullivan, presented by Carter Subaru.
I want to believe those are sun breaks, Sully. And I'm going to stick by
Liar!
that. It looks sunbreaky.
It does. I mean, I think
a
we're getting there.
lot brighter than yesterday.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, anything would be brighter than yesterday.
Let's talk about Choke Point today. That is your May flight, and it might be in jeopardy if you don't have proper ID to get on a plane. Real ID Act is what we're talking about, and that's going to take effect in a month?
Yes, in a month, May 7th. That's the deadline. If you haven't heard of Real ID, I'm not sure where you've been, but I know that our lives are busy, but it passed Congress in 2005.
I was but a boy then.
It is, as a result of the terrorist attacks on 9/11, as a way to verify who people were who were getting on planes. So they were going to be like, okay, we need some sort of federal standard for what it is, because every state kind of does things differently. They require different things or don't require certain things. And so Washington's driver's license is not acceptable under the Real ID Act because our state doesn't ask for proof of citizenship or other information that the feds want in an ID to get you on an airplane. And that deadline is May 7th. And so there's concern that you might be turned away if you don't have some form of ID. And of course, you can have a passport, as government ID, any kind of thing like that that counts as a federal document now, that's still good. But if you say don't have one of those and you just have a Washington driver's license, you need to get an enhanced driver's license in order to give an ID that the feds have. Problem is, trying to get into the DOL with a month to go is not going to be easy. I had to go schedule out 2 weeks when I did this in January. Now they're running close to 2 months out on reservations.
It depends on the office location. We'd suggest looking at our appointments to see if there are any available in the area. I know at least with the Seattle area, appointments may be hard to come by.
That's the Department of Licensing's Thomas Charlson, who says, of course, you can still walk into any location and wait. It'll probably take you a really long time because everyone's doing it. When I went into Linwood, I mean, I was there with about 30 high school age kids who were like trying to get their, they're trying to do this, that, other people trying to get first IDs. So the thing is, you got to find a spot where you might be able to find a wait time. And those wait times are up on the DOL website. There's a link to that at mynorthwest.com. I'm hearing some secrets like West Seattle might not be a bad place to go.
Did you say West Seattle might not be a bad place to go?
Yeah, or if you're going, say, driving to Long Beach this weekend, I heard the DOL in Milwaukee is very wide open if you're looking for places to go. So there's still options for you to go get this. But again, you don't have to if you have a passport or not. But I'm just telling you, if you're thinking of getting that enhanced driver's license and you have a flight coming up in May, it might be difficult to go in and get one, or you might have to spend a whole day waiting at the DOL to go in and give them that paperwork. And of course, all the paperwork you need to get an enhanced driver's license, there's a link to that at mynorthwest.com as well. I mean, we've been talking to people about this for 10 years now, since it was really started that we had our first deadline, but it keeps getting postponed. I don't think it's going to get postponed this time. I mean, this is the closest we've ever gotten to a deadline for this Real ID Act to take effect, and I don't think it's going away. Yeah. So you've got, and from what I've heard, there's some conflicting information as well from the TSA that says we won't be turning people away, but the DOL is telling me they could be turning people away. So I'm not sure what it's going to look like on May 7th at the airport. If people go there without the proper documentation, that could be a nut house.
We should send Luke out.
Yeah, because if you're turning people away, I mean, I can't imagine people are going to be happy about that, and that will lead to all sorts of stuff. So, yeah, check out all the information at mynorthwest.com. Now, if you're not taking a flight, you got time to get your enhanced ID, or again, use whatever you have that still counts. A list of what counts is also up at mynorthwest.com.
All right, Sully, thank you for that. And where is your hotspot? I'm mixing up hotspots and choke points. Where's it bad?
Well, to be honest, choke points is trademarked. Just so you know, we did that a long time ago.
TM.
But even though you really can't do that, we have it registered anyway. It's going to be northbound 405 as you work your way out of Renton. So we'll break it down next.
It's 8:40.
KIRO Newsradio, your home for G and Ursula, 9 to noon.
This is the first time that median earnings in Seattle have hit six figures.
San Francisco being number one and Seattle being number two, what do those two places have in common with each other? Homelessness crisis. Isn't it something that the places where you're middle of the pack making $100,000 a year, the homeless is more in those places than anywhere in the country? But G is drugs.
Streaming live on your smart speaker.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like frames. because you found a classic 70s concert poster. But when you went to get it framed, you realized the frame will cost about 4 times the amount of the poster, which is actually absurd because no one will be looking at the frame, and if they are, then you severely overestimated how cool this poster is. But then you remember by switching your home and auto to Progressive, you could save hundreds and put it towards a classic 70s concert poster in an absurdly overpriced frame. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is for you too. Stubborn fat is really hard to get rid of. And then there's all those gimmicky lasers, fat freezing methods, and prescriptions. Imagine a simple solution that takes just one day and provides immediate noticeable results. Introducing ProSculpt. ProSculpt uses air-assisted technology that's safe and gentle yet powerful, delivering instant fat-reducing and skin-tightening results. Performed by board-certified plastic surgeons while fully awake, ProSculpt contours your body with minimal downtime. It's designed to target those problem areas: waistline, neck, face, arms, thighs. ProSculpt gently removes unwanted fat and tightens loose skin with FDA-cleared plasma technology, all in a simple, guaranteed one-day procedure. ProSculpt is one and done. Schedule your free consultation at ProSculpt.com for $250 off. For powerful permanent fat removal and skin tightening that works for ladies and you men, it's ProSculpt.com.
Hey there, Dawn Riley with Olympic Hot Tub. The perfect time to get a saltwater hot spring spa is here. During our Splash into Spring event, you'll save up to $1,500 on your new tub and enjoy 5 years interest-free financing. Doesn't a daily soak with terrific jets sound like a great escape? You'll be on your way to a healthier you in no time. Don't delay. Ends April 13th. OlympicHotTub.com. Better you, better life.
Olympic Hot Tub.
It's 8:43. We head over to the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Desk with Sully.
And we are looking at about a 50-minute trip now from Renton into Bellevue, which unfortunately has kind of become the norm during the middle days of the week. That's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. As we just have a lot of volume heading up that corridor. In fact, 405 is still considered one of our heaviest, if not busiest, stretches in the state of any highway during our commutes. And 50 minutes from Renton to Bellevue is pretty thick. Not only do you have the stuff through the S-curves, but now we're really seeing it on over the top of I-90 into downtown. And behind that on the Valley Freeway, we are starting to thin out, which is actually pretty positive. 45 minutes from Puyallup into Renton. Looks like we do have a new crash in the eastbound direction of I-90, right about the middle of Mercer Island, right there at Island Crest Way. I'm not sure which lane it's in yet. This one just popped up on the board. So you're probably going to need about 30 minutes to go from Seattle to Bellevue. That's actually worse than going Bellevue to Seattle. So that tells you our commutes changed, man, over the years that I've been doing this. There used to be never anything heading eastbound in the morning, but now across the lake, now, people are going everywhere. And 30 minutes going eastbound is not out of the ordinary on I-90. 520, though, looks really good in both directions. Out of the north end, under 50 minutes from Everett to Seattle and just under an hour from Everett to Bellevue. This report brought to you by Home Comfort Alliance. Upgrade now and incredible savings on ultra-efficient heat pumps. Get up to $6,000 in rebates, plus save 10% on heat pumps through April. Call Home Comfort Alliance or visit homecomfortalliance.com.
The sunbreak I thought I saw across East Lake Avenue has gone away. We are expecting sunshine and highs in the upper 50s this afternoon. Tomorrow and Saturday, nice and warm, upper 60s to right around 70 in the South Sound. Rain returns sometime Sunday evening. Right now in Seattle, it is 43 at 8:45. Let's head over to the news desk and check in with Katrina Gishard.
A man is in serious condition at Harborview after a stabbing in South Seattle. Police say it happened around 1 this morning. Seattle police say there was some sort of argument at an apartment complex on MLK Way between Myrtle and Willow Streets. A 47-year-old man was found unconscious in the lobby of the building. So far, no suspects or arrests. There's a new scam going on in Pierce County. The Pierce County Sheriff's Office says if you get a phone call from someone saying you can pay for your loved one's bond through an app, or if you get a text asking for money, this is what Deputy Carly Capetto has to say.
Don't do it. This is the latest and greatest scam where they're taking advantage of your money and your situation.
If you get a text, delete it. Do not respond.
Katrina, what's great about watching the show on mynorthwest.com, the live feed, is you could see G. Scott standing behind you outside in the lobby or the office area. And there's also Luke Ducey over there. They've got all these people behind you. Yeah, exactly. So it was fun to watch. It's 8:46. Coming up on Seattle's Morning News, G does swing by the show. He's talking about those immigration raids in Bellingham. We'll get his take coming up on Seattle's Morning News.
All right, keep up. It's me, the radar gun at T-Mobile Park. And these Mariners pitchers have me working overtime. 3 all-star aces, Logan Gilbert, Luis Castillo, and George Kirby throwing absolute gas.
Holy smokes, what a performance. Strikeout number 10 on the night.
And don't forget about Bryce Miller and Brian Wu, the young guns. Those guys get me fired all the way up.
Swing and a miss. Strike 3, a 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
And just when you think you've survived, here comes Andres Munoz dialing up triple digits and shutting the door. Oh boy, I'm giddy just thinking about it.
Back-to-back strikeouts, and the ball game is over.
Trust me, you're going to want to grab a seat and feel the speed for yourself. And there they go again. I got to make sure my batteries are charged. Mariners baseball. Trident's up.
The Mariners have an incredible slate of promos all month long. Don't miss the Cal Platinum Glove Bobblehead giveaway Monday, April 7th through Wednesday, April 9th. Corduroy Hat Night presented by Alaska Airlines Friday, April 11th, and more. Go to mariners.com/promos to get your tickets and check out the complete lineup.
Washington State has the 3rd highest cost of living in the nation. If Olympia politicians raise taxes again, the cost of everything from groceries and gas to housing will go up even more. They've already doubled spending over 10 years, with little to show for it. Washington State needs lower costs, not higher taxes. Demand smarter state spending now at affordablewashington.org. Paid for by people for an affordable Washington and Olympia, Washington. Top 5 donors are Washington Alliance for Competitive Economy, Microsoft, Madrona, T-Mobile, and Alaska Air.
During Lent, treat yourself to a teriyaki salmon meal at Ivar's Seafood Bar. They start with a grilled wild Alaskan salmon fillet, baste it with a teriyaki glaze, and serve it with coconut pineapple rice and sesame ginger coleslaw. A meal for $15.99. Available in all Ivar's Seafood Bars from Marysville to Tacoma and throughout Seattle, but not in Ivar's Fish Bars at the Salmon House, Pier 54, or Mukilteo Landing. Find more information at ivers.com. Ivers since 1938. Your new beginning starts now. D.R. Horton has new construction homes available throughout the greater Seattle area. With spacious floor plans, flexible living spaces, and home technology packages, you can enjoy more cozy moments and sweet memories in your beautiful new home. With new home communities opening throughout the Seattle area, D.R. Horton has the ideal home for you. Visit drhorton.com to learn more. D.R. Horton, America's builder. An equal housing opportunity builder.
Right now at Les Schwab, it's the deal you've been waiting for. The Afford More sales event. Save $60 instantly on a wide selection of 4 of our most affordable tires. Plus, every tire is covered by America's best tire warranty. 60-day satisfaction guarantee, no hassle road hazard protection, and free maintenance for the life of your tires. Just one more way you'll get more from less. Find the right tires for you at leschwab.com. Limited time offer while supplies last. See leschwab.com/sale for details.
Seattle's Morning News with your host, Charlie Harder.
Joining us from the G and Ursula Show, 9 to noon here on KIRO Newsradio, G. Scott. And G, we had the first large-scale immigration raid in Western Washington in the Trump era, and 37 people arrested yesterday and taken away from a roofing company there. What are your thoughts as you hear about something like this happening?
In the United States, 4.8% of the U.S. workforce is made up of undocumented immigrants. That's 8.3 million working in different industries, especially here in the state. To be specific, 5% of the state's workforce come from undocumented immigrants. I think the 37 people rounded up at that Bellingham Roofing Company breaks my heart. It breaks my heart because you look and see what the owner, who is a veteran Navy SEAL, and see what he had to say, talking about how he had people that worked there for years, some of them even decades, people in the community doing the right thing, church-going folks. The owner talked about that specifically. What breaks my heart about this is because there are a lot of people who have and feel a certain way about undocumented immigrants. As a matter of fact, they don't even call them undocumented immigrants. They call them something else because it's just another way to, if you will, own folks and say it a certain way. But what I don't think is most people wanted this. And what I mean by want this is what I mean. I mean something like this at this roofing company that has been around for 40 years, small business. What type of ripple effect and impact that this story will have amongst other small businesses? What's going to happen when people are afraid and scared to go to these agriculture jobs, right? What's going to happen then? Will our prices go down if people stop showing up to work because they are afraid? Speaking of prices, do I need to talk about how prices are continuing to go up while 401ks are continuing to go down? I'll say this. I'm more disappointed and more heartbroken at what's going on and what happened in Bellingham than I am about my personal portfolio, in which I looked at this morning. I do know that things like that, my portfolio, I'm not worried about it. That'll bounce back. I didn't plan on retiring in the next couple months. But this kind of fear on those undocumented immigrants or those kids worrying about if their mom or dad or their aunt or uncle will come home going to work, if it is a good idea to go to work or maybe to stay home because you are afraid of what's going on. I just don't like the uncertainty. I don't like the fear. But at the same time, I don't think I'm the only one because there's a lot of uncertainty and fear. Right now, Whirlpool out of Iowa just had their biggest layoff ever this morning. So there's a lot of fear and uncertainty happening. And what happens? Financial ruin.
We just have a couple seconds left. Are you drawing a distinction between those who happen to be here illegally and those who commit crimes and are here illegally?
There's a huge distinction, right? And one thing that I'll leave you guys with on this, the same people that go around and they want voter ID, we got to get the voter ID. They don't never scream E-Verify. You can easily do E-Verify when you have the opportunity to establish who is and who's not working and legally at your workforce. There's a reason why that most don't talk about and scream E-Verify, because some of the same people that are screaming protect our borders have benefited off of undocumented immigrants in our country.
G. Scott, 9 to noon here on KIRO News Radio, the G and Ursula Show. Thanks, G. We head over to the Beacon Plumbing traffic desk now with Sully.
And we now have 2 crashes on eastbound I-90 in the Mercer Island area. The first one I told you about 10 minutes ago is in the HOV lane right around Island Crest Way and on the right shoulder there. And then in that backup, it looks like somebody was probably not paying attention and got into a rear-end crash as they hit that backup right around West Mercer Way. So 2 crashes now on that corridor and a 2.5-mile backup. We've got about a 35-minute trip from Seattle to Bellevue. That is a 15-minute delay and growing. Northbound 405 still struggling through the S-curves, 50 minutes from Renton to Bellevue. Behind that, about 45 up the Valley Freeway. I-5 northbound, not bad until you get up to about the beginnings of Boeing Field. 50 minutes, though, from South Center is pretty ugly at this point. I-5